Okay.
Is this one?
Is it live?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How long ago?
Oh, no, I just started.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You gotta give me all your money in the future. Last one try, one try, one try. One more I get all your money. You're not getting my money. You gotta give me all your money.
Okay, everybody, we'll probably get started in a minute. We're just finishing up in the back. But just, I'll be quick. Scott, it's about youth today. Very proud. Chief Council, they send their high fives, their acknowledgement. When the boys, when the team were talking about this morning to put it together, we said absolutely plan it, run with it, bring in who you want to bring in, and it was an easy choice as far as we have cousin, our relative Kahkewistahaw, that's gonna speak and lead you guys today, celebrate with you guys today, and of course, fellow First Nation role models who, I'm excited for them to share their story with you. And a lot of us, you'll be able to relate, and that's the cool thing about us as young people, you young people, is that you're going to hear a lot of yourselves within their stories. So pay attention, give them that respect today as they traveled far today from their communities, Ontario, and Bridget from Manitoba this way. So treat them good visitors. Other than that, we're proud of you. Kahkewistahaw is proud of you as our young people that are leading the way in sport and other things. So keep it up. And then just special acknowledgement to parents and community this way is that truly at our table we do talk about it, how proud we are, and seniors be the ones that are caring and keeping our children or our young people uplifted by supporting them, by coaching them, and being with them as they participate. So it's some, us older ones, we never have that support, a lot of us, where be it coaches or our parents or anybody that way. So good job to the parents. Love you guys all. We'll have a good day, and thank you for the food and the meal that way. So let's jump right
Thank you, Councillor Corey. Good afternoon to WOW. Welcome. My name is Kahkewistahaw. I'm from Cowes First Nation, but I just wanted to introduce myself from a Kahkewistahaw perspective. My great grandma, her name was Gracie Lewison, and Gracie was born in 1880. And then Gracie had Maggie Lewison, was my great grandma. She was born in 1900. And then my grandma Evelyn is from Ochapaway. So I have relations here back to Kahkewistahaw. And I think I have an ex-girlfriend from Kahkewistahaw too. So I have some connections back here. I grew up in Ochapaway, Kahkewistahaw, Cowes, and Sakamay. And I was once a chief. I was the chief of the Cowes First Nation, just like your chief, Evan. I was the chief of Cowes. And I'm here to help just make sure this afternoon goes well. Sports played a big part of my life too. I was a golfer growing up. I was just a Reds kid that just grew up just like you, thinking, the big dreams and all these opportunities. And I eventually started to go compete against non-First Nations people. I started to leave the reserve, and I became a provincial champion in golfing. And one thing I always brought with me was my identity of who I was. And sometimes I was the only First Nation person in the circle, but I never let my identity or who I was stop me, because you can be Indigenous and be ambitious at the same time. You can be traditional and be innovative. You can be from Kahkewistahaw and still be world known. Like, that's who we are. It's not just about being local. And then lastly, our speakers today, they're going to bring stories to you. One of our speakers, Bridget Lequette, she's going to bring a story about how you could come from a community like yours, like Kahkewistahaw, and you could make World Olympic hockey. And sometimes being the first is not easy, and not seeing role models in what you want to do is not easy. And Bridget broke a lot of those barriers and challenges to now she's your role model. She's going to talk about how coming from a small community, you can still always dream big. Our other speakers this afternoon is the Nolan brothers and dad. And what they're going to talk about is family. How when you are an athlete, being an athlete and a champion is not just you showing up. It's about how your parents are helping you, about how your cookums and mushums are helping you, your aunties and uncles, the bus drivers, and the parents who come from work all day and stay to coach, and to the volunteers and the cooks and all that. And it's all about family. Because today's Kahkewistahaw Wellness Celebration, this is your celebration. We just happen to have some really amazing guests here to help with your celebration. But this is about you and your success. You don't have to strive to be the next Bridget Lequette or the next Ted Nolan or Jordan Nolan. We want you to be the next you, and that you can achieve your goals and what you need to do. We just happen to bring people here that have had similar stories to you, so you don't feel alone in the journey or what people are trying to ask you to do. And lastly, it's not always about being a champion. Sports is the door opener. It opens the door, sports. But we want you to become educated. We want you to become teachers or business owners or a leader one day, a chief, or someone that's just going to help in the community and stay at home, someone that's going to go far ways beyond Kahkewistahaw and always come back and make sure that you bring the people with you. That's the message today. So I just wanted to open my comments and say it's really nice to be here and help you. I just want to let's give credit to the cooks for the Indian tacos. Thank you very much. You know, to be a good athlete, it's always about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social. And so Indian tacos maybe not be the healthiest, but there was some vegetables on there. So we'll give credit to the vegetables on there. At this time, I just wanted to make sure, was someone else going to share a few words, Nathan? Was it just Corey? Okay, thank you, Corey, one of our leaders here, for coming to opening some comments. We'll get started a little early. I see our first speakers already here. I see my friend in the back over there. And so, Bridget, did you want to start coming up? I just wanted to make sure we get ready here. So, our first guest today is, let's give it up for Bridget Lequette. I want to introduce herself. Hi, Bridget. So Bridget comes from a small community. She was raised in a small Métis community called Mallard, Manitoba. She is First Nation. She is registered to the Cody First Nation, so just north of Yorkton. If you were the Yorkton Tribal Council and represented your tribal council, Cody First Nation is a part of that. And that's where Bridget is registered. Bridget has a story of growing up in a small community, wearing the pride of who she is as an Indigenous female and Indigenous athlete. And she took that pride and she overcame a lot of barriers. Because we're not just here to tell you that to be a champion means that you're gonna not have any challenges. What being a champion is how do you take those challenges that you're gonna face and you learn to move with them and past them. And that's the story that Bridget brings. She is a 2018 silver Olympic medalist when Team Canada went overseas. And she came home now, and she gives back to the community. So without further ado, I want to leave Bridget to just tell her amazing story with you and share a few words. But let's give it up to Bridget Lequette.
And we Well, first off, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. It's always truly an honor to be able to go and share my story around Canada, and especially around Shreveport. I'll just hand these out, and you guys can pass them around. My middle's broken, so it was swinging it around. It's too bad. Well, like Hannah said, I'm Bridget LaQuette. I come from, I'm Treaty Dakota First Nation. I grew up in a small BT community about 4 hours north of Winnipeg called Mallard. Mallard is really in the middle of nowhere. There's one gravel road to get in, one gravel road to get out. Less than 100 people there. There's pretty much, with your BT settlement, like it's just like an office, houses, and that's pretty much it. And my grandparents, both orphans on my dad's side, so they ended up settling out in Mallard. My parents met when they were quite young. They met when they were, right through tent meetings. My June was a minister, and then they ended up, later on getting married at 19 and 20. Had my sister at 21, myself at 22, and then my brother at 26. So, with them, they didn't really have that, those people to kind of push them through, stress education. It was pretty much just winging it and figuring it out along the way, right? My grandparents on my mom's side, they both went to residential school, and they obviously, with that comes with a lot of intergenerational trauma. A lot of stuff to work through, and it just gets trickled down, passed down constantly until someone decides they want to face it, right? So with that, myself, getting through these steps of, hockey and levels of hockey, and then eventually I was scouting with the Chicago Blackhawks for about 4 years. It was a pretty tough road to get to that stage, right? And what helped me was, just taking it one day at a time, one step at a time, and just looking, creating a list of goals and then working towards those goals every single day, because, it's not just going to come to you randomly and unexpectedly. Like, it's something that you have to consistently work at every single day, and especially on those hard days when you don't feel like doing it. So, through growing up in Mallard, I grew up there. I moved away when I was in grade 12. So, it was a lot of consistency, and that's, my parents, they dropped out of school, they ended up going back eventually to get their GED, and then my mom eventually got her education degree, and then my dad eventually got his, he runs a construction business now back home. And with myself, I just knew that I loved to play sports. My dad always played in basketball tournaments and hockey tournaments, and I think he was in a football tournament once, and I just followed it. I always just wanted to be there and stuff, right, and just take it all in. And that's kind of when, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I started to, ask my dad every single day, can I play hockey? Can I play hockey? And at that time, my dad's dad he was very hesitant. He didn't want me to really play hockey because he knew that it was a lot of boys just played the sport, and it was very rough. Turns out I was more rough than the boys. So, I just felt like I had that, that determination, and there was just something about hockey that I loved. It was I loved being out there on the ice. I could spend hours on the outdoor rink just being out there alone, skating, shooting, stick handling, doing whatever. And through that, I grew up with eczema, so that was another thing that kind of I felt it's I felt isolated. I felt a lot different than the kids around me. It was so oftentimes like I used to being alone, right? I was used to kind of just being in my own little world. And with sports and hockey, that was kind of something that that I like the feeling of being active and like feeling that accomplishment passion. And it wasn't until probably 2000, I was probably like 10, 11 years old when I kind of realized that, oh wait, I can actually, there are women that play hockey at, a higher level. And there was a lady from back home that, she must have been about almost 10 years old, but she ended up getting a scholarship to St. State University, which is a Division I program. And that was kind of the first time where I was like that's cool, right? I was like, she's getting skates, like she's got paper equipment, and my dad, for some crazy reason, he always made sure that we had the best stuff because he never wanted to give us an excuse to not make it, right? So through, getting into sports, playing hockey, they finally enrolled me, and my mom ended up going back to school, so she ended up living on the reserve at my grandma's house in Cody, got her GED in 2 years, and then ended up applying to a program at Brandon University, but it was located in Dauphin, so an hour and 10 minutes one way from Mallard. And she commuted 2 hours and 20 minutes every day for 5 years to get her education degree, so we would have a little extra money. My dad at that time drove the school bus for school. So, they would always find a way to take me to get my brother and my sister and I to practices. So through that, it was, I started to, play hockey with the boys, and I was starting to, get a little better, and I started getting invited to try out for all these summer hockey teams. And my sister and I must have been 11 or 12 years old. My sister and I ended up trying out for this team out in Winnipeg. And it was the most uncomfortable feeling. Like it was the first time I ever I always played rec resident, right? With everyone that looked like me. It was and it was so uncomfortable because that was kind of the first time where I was pulled out of that comfort zone and thrown into this, tryout. And I remember walking into that dressing room, and I still it was at Maxwell Center, Winnipeg. Walk in, and it just felt like everyone stared at us for the entire time. It was just so awkward and uncomfortable. And I was very uncomfortable. I remember telling my dad I didn't want to do that, and he ended up ripping me on the way home because I wasn't. Because I just floated around on the ice. But anyway, they wanted to keep my sister. My sister's the hardest worker that I know, and she ended up making the team as a goalie. And they didn't want me. And my dad was like, "Well, that's not going to fly. It's just in this game. That's just not going to work." So we ended up trying out for this other team out of Brandon, and we ended up making it. And that was probably the first time when I felt like I was I felt like they didn't really care if I was first, if I was First Nation or anything. It was a completely different feeling from going into that dressing room in Winnipeg than it was going to the dressing room in Brandon. And I'm still friends with some of those girls today. It was they wanted to know us for who we were as people, and they didn't want to kind of form their own little clique, right? So it was very welcoming, very open, and it was just a great environment. So through that season, I must have been 11, 12 years old. That's when I experienced racism for the first time. I got into a shoving match with a girl in the corner. We were skating on the ice. She called me a dirty Indian. And that was, again, first time for someone calling me that. I felt angry. I'm a crier, so I cried. And I remember just being so frustrated. My dad told me to beat him on the ice, and You know, it was so simple, like it was just, you know, telling me that just keep pushing, push through it. And that's pretty much what I did. Like I was able to turn that negative into a positive, you know, push through it and want to beat them on the scoreboard rather than actually snap them with my stick, even though I'd rather prefer to do that, right? So I just continued to, you know, going back to Mallard after those tournaments and just continued to work on, you know, stick handling and shooting. My dad ended up, you know, lived in the bush, right? So it was, Dad put up like a cage and then he put a sheet of plywood down, had about 50 black pucks, and I had like 2 or 3 weighted pucks. And I'd shoot the weighted pucks for 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and then I'd shoot all the black pucks. I'd go get them, put them back, do the same thing. And I didn't do that because I had to. Like I did it because I wanted to do that, and I loved doing that kind of stuff. So I felt like that was kind of my passion at a very young age. There were times where my dad would be driving the school bus and he'd be like, all right, he made me this like little stick. He put like 5 pucks at the end of it, and I'd just be like this after school. He's like, make sure your arms are straight, and I'd be like, you know, working on my wrist strength and everything like that. Hated it. I remember one time I cried on the bus because I didn't want to do it. Still did it anyway. So through that, you know, again, started making all these teams and getting invited to try out for all these teams. I got invited to try out for Team Anzo. My sister and I actually both did. She was a goalie. And again, I thought I could just go in and just rely on my skill. Like I knew from all those times of shooting pucks and stick handling that I had pretty good hands. I saw the ice pretty well, and I could shoot the puck. And I thought I could just go in and just do that, right? And just not skate, not try hard. That was the first time I've ever experienced fitness testing. I hated it. And you know, my sister, again, hardest worker that I know, she ended up making it so difficult for the coaching staff to not take her. Like she outworked the other goalies, so she would, right? So she ended up making the team. I didn't make the team. It was obviously disappointing. And that's kind of when my dad, and he always ended up giving me all these big lectures after his trip and stuff like that. And, you know, he pretty much, that was the time where he told me, okay, write your goals down. You know, obviously it's, you know, you're not where you need to be. You need to catch up to these girls or pass them, and you just like write goals for yourself. You know, what do you want to achieve in 5-10 years of your lifetime? I started writing down, you know, obviously I wanted to go to high school, finish high school, maybe go to college, get a scholarship to the States. I think that was one of them. Play on Team Canada, make the UAC Team Canada, and then national team. And it was a team out of Manitoba, like a team that I just got my from. And my auntie and my mom, about 6 years early, both graduated from, you know, my auntie got her social work degree, and my mom got her teaching degree, so that was kind of on that list as well. So wrote that down, and my dad was like, okay, so how are you going to, you know, achieve those today? You know, obviously that's something that you want to do eventually in your life. So I was like, start going for runs because I got a 4.7 on the test, which is not good for the performance. So not proud. So I was like, go start going for runs. One of my dad's brothers, he's been deaf since he was 2 years old. He lost his hearing when he was 2 years old. So he did a lot of like labor work, and that was one of my things was like, okay, I'll start hauling wood with the weight, you know, because he always hauled wood for us. So I started hauling wood with the weight, and then that's like shoot more pucks. At that time, my dad ended up buying my brother and I rollerblades. So we'd be on the highway after school. So after you do his bus run, we would return to school. Be on the highway like that, and we'd be rollerblading from hydropole to hydropole. And my dad would be in this truck with his whistle and kind of taking up the side where we're skating, right? And we do that for about an hour. You know, some days it was just very hard because we needed full equipment and just rollerblades on. Other days we'd be on a don't think it's a cement pad back here, but they're just like cement pad with basketball hoops. And doing that and maybe working on our, figure eights and crossovers and everything like that. So we do that on alternating days, as well as shooting pucks. So during the season, I would stay on an extra like 10 to 15 minutes working on a specific skill, whether that be, pulling the puck to the middle and shooting, or kneeling and picking up the puck, things like that, until I felt like I could actually do it. There were times where I'd be I grew up in a trailer, so there'd be times where I just like grab my stick and and fall, and I'd just be like stick handling around the house while you're on the house stick handling. And doing whatever, toe dragging around the chairs, like it was just, things that I could come up with in my head. And at that time, I picture myself actually doing that on the ice. You know what I mean? So I just kind of like using my imagination, trying not to look at the ball and everything like that. So I did that every single day. And eventually I ended up getting invited to try out for Team Manitoba again. I ended up making it. And that same year, my sister and I got invited. We were in Sault Ste. Marie at NAHC. And we had just finished playing Eastern North. And there was a lady who came up and found us, like after a game, got our coach. Her coach was like, Bridget and Mary, like, come up to the hallway. There's someone who wants to see you. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't, my parents didn't know. So I was just like, who could it be? We come out there, and this lady was like, I'm so-and-so, I work for Hockey Canada, we didn't know your address or your parents' phone number or anything, like this is what we need to find you here, we want to go ahead and invite you both to try out for UAT Team Canada. And I remember my sister like jumped, like she's like one of those, like you get excited, you jump, right? And all I heard in that, I heard the whole, her spiel, and I heard fitness testing, and that's where my mind went. I was just like, my stomach dropped, I got anxiety. I had to do the test again. And I got like nervous. So we both got invited, we tried out the team. I ended up eventually making it 2 years ago. My sister ended up not making it. And, that was tough. Like it was almost like it was just like one step closer to where I wanted to go. And I was able to check off one of those, make Team Manitoba, check, make Team Canada, check. And I just continued to work towards the next goal on the list, and then that would be exposure to the States, graduate, eventually make Team Canada. And it was about 2013. I ended up getting a scholarship to the States. Played for Team Canada. The UA teams, that's the ring that's going around. We ended up beating the US in overtime and got top defenseman of the tournament, top three players in Canada, and finished second in points of the team. And I felt like I was on top of the world. Like it was like all of that, hard work is starting to see the results, right? So I ended up going to the university. That was one of the biggest challenges I find up until that point was one, moving away from home because I was so close to my family, and then it was hard for me to be independent, honestly. And I remember just feeling so homesick when I was in Minnesota, when I was living in Kelowna, and I knew that I had to work towards the goals that I wanted to achieve. However, it was very hard. I pretty much just focused on hockey. So when I got to university, did well on the ice the first 2 years, questionable off the ice. Like it was like schooling was very hard. I found schooling very hard. To kind of just balance that, the being an athlete and a student. And I ended up getting invited to try out the 2014 Olympic team. I was the youngest player invited to that camp. Again, had no idea what that felt. And I feel like when all of these coaches and everything had talked to me, like it was like I hear noises, but I just wouldn't like retain any of the information. So I remember getting invited to the camp, and I knew that I had to redshirt a year and take the year off of school. And I thought I was going to Calgary just for fitness tests, just like the U18s do. And yeah, I ended up finding out at the fitness testing that we were going to Penticton for 3 weeks to train as a team. I was like, oh, cool, I guess. Like I had no idea what that was in store. And at that time, like when I used a mountain bike for the first time, it was pretty crazy. The training was absolutely unfathomable. You know, a lot of like Kate Wickenheiser, like she was training since she was 15, she was on the since she was 15, right? And here she is in her early 30s, and just like best biker, fittest person that I've ever seen, right? There was a moment where we were biking. We must have did an 86, 90 kilometer bike. And there was one moment where she was pushing me, like we were even biking. Well, the whole context of the story was we were all in groups, and at the end of every week we were put in groups, and then we had to finish like an event, right? So one was we bike Apex Mountain, one was a 110 kilometer bike to the next town and back, and then this one was the second week. It didn't seem like it was that bad, and after the first week I was kind of confident in my skills, biking skills. Figured out how to, pedal when I'm going up steep hills, so I was pretty confident. And then they were like, "Hey, well, you got to finish the team." There was about 8 of us on the one team. They were like, "You have to finish the team. Everyone's going to be timed." I remember one of the younger girls, one of the newer girls came up to me just like, "Oh, you have Wick on your team." And I was like, "They fell back to me, really." And she ended up starting. She's like brought us all in. We're in a huddle, and she was like, "Hey, we gotta finish as a team. We gotta. I'll keep a good pace for us, and we stick together. No one gets left behind because we have to finish across, the finish line together." I was like, okay, I was like feeling good, right? As soon as it starts, they send her. Everyone all went. Our group was up, and she just takes them. Like she just like gone. And I'm fighting for my life to catch up to her, right? Like I'm just like pedaling and I'm like breathing heavy and I'm keeping my life because we weren't even on the incline yet. And through that whole bike, I was really questioning like, is this worth it? Like I was like, this is hard. Like this has to be the hardest. Like, this physically, it was so hard. And there was a moment where we were passing groups, like we didn't have to go as fast as we were going, but we were passing groups, and she came from the front, slowed down, came to me in the back, and she was pushing my bike seat. Like she'd be like giving me this pep talk, "In 4 years, you're gonna be so fit, you're gonna know what to do." And she was pushing my bike seat, and we're going up the hill. And I was like, that's so embarrassing. And we ended up passing all those groups and finishing. And I felt a little better after Kulan was like, she had told me, she's like, she did this to me 4 years ago. We were running though. She was pushing me up the hill when we were running. I was like, yeah, but you were like 17, but yeah, it was so hard. So at that time, I ended up not making the team. It was very hard to get through it. At a moment, I was kind of questioning like, do I want to go back? I was kind of just feeling down and sorry for myself. And I ended up going back to school, finishing, university, and moving away from home was tough for me in terms of making my own choices. My parents, growing up, I didn't grow up in an alcoholic home. They did, or my mom did. They wanted to raise us in a home where they didn't have to experience, or we didn't have to experience what they experienced. So I was making my own choices. My whole team was drinking, like all this stuff, and I was really just prioritizing, having a social life over being a student athlete. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just, I want to have fun, like all this stuff, right? So I ended up eventually graduating from university. That was one of the things, one of the reasons why I got cut, I think, in the first round for 2014 was that I I didn't prioritize being an Olympic athlete, which at that time I didn't really know what that meant. So I ended up going back to school, graduating. I ended up making Team Canada for a couple years in a row and still like not really fixing anything off the ice. And at that time, I honestly just made a choice where I didn't like the way I felt. I wasn't proud of who I was becoming. I wasn't proud of this person that, it was hard for me to look at that essentially. So I ended up making a decision to, live a healthier lifestyle. And I decided to quit drinking in January 2017. And wanted to, actually focus on trying to practice Olympic roster. Ended up, at the time that I ended up quitting, the general manager of Hockey Canada, I reached out to her and I told her like what I decided to do. And it's crazy because, at that time she supported me. She was like, well, support you 100%, everything that, if you want to go to counseling, if you want to go to groups, like, just send us the bill, we'll pay for it. So, like, great. Told my team, I think the shame, like, there was a lot of shame. I felt a lot of shame, obviously. And it was more so, like, worried about what other people thought of me, right, making that choice. And, just worried about what other people thought. And it's crazy to me because who the person I am now as opposed to who I was, 10 years ago. Like, and that's the best choice that I made for my life. And obviously, at the time it was hard. However, we're very proud of who I became after that. So everyone supported me, and I surrounded myself with good, positive people that I felt like I could be myself around, and people that supported me and didn't look at me any different than anyone else. Like, they just treated me the exact same way. I really found that awesome. I ended up making the team, Olympic team eventually. Through that whole process, I really didn't know what to expect. Like, I was a very up and down every single day. There were times where I thought I was going to make the team for sure, and then there were times where I felt like I was going to get cut for sure. So it was kind of just evening myself out, believing in myself, believing that I could do this, I'm capable of this, and regardless of the outcome, it was something that I was trying to bring myself to accept. So I ended up making it. Don't really remember much of the Olympics. It just went by so quick. And honestly, it felt like just another tournament because we played against all of the same girls every single year and 2 tournaments a year. So it's in that regard, it really just felt like another tournament. The Olympic Village as a whole, it was pretty wild. They had free McDonald's. McDonald's, and you could just go. I had a teammate that got an apple pie. Her grandpa she grew up, her grandpa owned all the McDonald's franchises in Saskatoon. So she had a gold card growing up, so she always, her family always ate McDonald's, and it's something that she just has to love. Other than that, after the Olympics, prior to that, I was going to counseling. And I kind of stopped going to counseling for a few months after the general education year prior to the Olympics. I just got so busy, and then I was like, oh, I feel fine. Like, I'm focused on this. And for the next few years after that, I just, I felt like I was so busy that I had zero time ready. Like, it was just from one thing to another to another. And it wasn't until I got cut from the 2022 Olympic team where I felt like I could really take a good look at myself, figure out who I am. I can't, I didn't want to get who I am away from hockey. You know what I mean? If I take that sport out now, I didn't know who it was. Now it's just, I felt like I was lost. 2 days before I got cut, I got a face cut. So weird. I got a Facebook message from a guy that worked with the Chicago Blackhawks. I personally thought it was spam, so I googled the guy, I looked up his number, like everything, because I was like, that's so weird to send a message to someone like that for a job. And so I ended up, this guy was like, I'm so-and-so, please give me a call. So I ended up giving the guy a call. His name was Ryan. And he was like, yeah, I'm Ryan, I work for the Chicago Blackhawks, I'm the head of scouting. Your name came across my desk, and then I understand that you live in, Calgary area. We had to let go of 3 scouts during COVID, and we wanted to let roll with one person, and that's you. And again, I had no idea what a scout did. Like, I was just like, I'll let you know next week is what I told him. And yeah, I pretty much ended up letting him know after. Did a call. They ended up flying me out to Chicago for the draft and meeting everyone who was over. And again, at that point, still had no idea what a scout did. He pretty much just said, like, you're gonna go to the Western Hockey League games. You're gonna write reports on the kids that are drafted in the NHL for trade purposes. That's it. And that's what I did for 4 years. Which, it was an easy job. Like, it was, the hardest part was actually traveling, like getting myself away from my dog. And like, and going to Spokane, Vancouver, and Victoria, Seattle, everywhere. Like every team from Brandon, Winnipeg had a team, but from Brandon all the way to Victoria, every team in between, and then Holland, Washington. I thought it was fun. It was something new. It was, I thought it was cool at first. And then towards the end, I kind of felt like it was just kind of lost its spark. And, I didn't really feel like I was being and for a time, for a long time, I felt like I was doing, I felt like it was the job that I wanted to do. I reached a point where I felt like I wanted to make more of a difference within, our people. So I ended up not working with them last year and applying to go back to school. And which was scary for me because I know that I wasn't a good student, when I played hockey in school. Within the last, 4 years, ended up seeing a psychiatrist because that was kind of where I was trying to figure out who I was, away from the sport, push through it. I had to actually really deal with everything that I was putting on for so long. Saw a psychologist for a number of years. And I got diagnosed with ADHD. Got the general anxiety and it was kind of, learning how to live with it every single day because, I reached a point where I was just nothing was working. Like I was trying to be I was running a lot. I was trying to be as active as possible still in hockey, and I just felt like nothing was working. So I reached out. I, saw a therapist, once a week, pretty much for, 3 years. And yeah, just kind of like working through all of the stuff that I pretty much been following up. Again, through that time, it was, other than going to therapy, it was pretty much, surrounding yourself with people that, support you, that want to see you do good. And I think that's what helps. So anyways, going back to school. I'm starting in a couple of weeks, so I'm pretty nervous about that, but I'm excited at the same time. But other than that, if I could leave you with, a couple things, be proud of who you are. Be proud of who you are and where you come from. I think there are a lot of times throughout my life where I've tried to be another person, and different environments, and it was just, you know, what made me ultimately happy was just being true to myself and true to the everyday life that I live. Set goals for yourself, you know. My mom was like the one who like really was like pushing me to go back to school. And she's like, it's never too late. She was like, you're young. I'm like, no, I'm too old. So, you know, it was kind of pushing me to that point where I was like, all right, you know, 9 months ago, I was like, oh, what if I do apply? And what I mean, and all this stuff, I was worried about that, but now I'm all set. And I'm like, this is exactly where I want to be 9 months ago, right? So, I'm excited about it. You know, don't stop setting goals, short-term, long-term goals, and you know, achieve. Be proud of those moments. Be proud of achieving them. You know, of going through the hard times and still pushing through it. I think that is one of the most rewarding things. Is, you know, completing a task that you just don't feel like doing. I felt like throughout my life, and especially with hockey, there were times where it was hard for me to wake up at 6 a.m. and go for a run, or 6 a.m. to go to practice, and you know, but it was something that I felt accomplished, and I felt so proud of myself after. I met with one of my coaches not too long ago. It must have been a few years ago. She was my Olympic coach, and she also coached me in college at UND. And she was like, one of the things that she mentioned was, she was like, you know what, no matter what you were going through or whatever you did the night before or anything like that, she's like, you always showed up and completed it. And that's something that she's like, I'm just like, so proud of you for that. She's like, you just did it, you didn't complain, and you showed up. And I was like, not that yet. You know? So yeah, with that, I just want to say thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Bridget. We're just going to have a couple questions here. I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask if anybody in the audience has any questions. But I just wanted to make a few comments while you catch your breath. And first, I'll give you back your ring, your medal. The medal's heavy. Hey, kids.
Yeah.
Bridget brought a message of coming from a small community with parents and cookums and mushums similar to yours, and had that same upbringing and that same background, similar background. And she went to Beijing. Does anybody know where Beijing, China is? Oh, did I say it wrong? Pyeongchang. Oh, I'm even saying the wrong city. Pyeongchang. Thank you, Bridget. I know where it is, even though I said it wrong. And it's on the other side of the world. It's a long ways away. And so, you know, Bridget went all over playing sports, but now she's here today in Kahkewistahaw. Bridget, I just want to tell you about Kahkewistahaw quickly. The Kahkewistahaw is a nation here, a Treaty 4 nation, just like Cody First Nation, and they invest a lot in sports. That's why, you know, you and the Nolan family are here today. They're huge into hockey, baseball. What other sports are there here?
Basketball.
Volleyball. When I was a kid, I was afraid to come to Kahkewistahaw Complex and play. Like, you were so amazing. I would end up reffing. I became a volleyball ref because I didn't want to get spiked by Kahkewistahaw volleyball players. And you know, today, Bridget, they're here today to just get inspired, and that's what you did. But I got a really quick question. The kids and I know what McDonald's is like in Regina and Yorkton. What's McDonald's like in China? Is you got the Big Macs and you got the cheeseburgers there, or is it different?
You know, it tastes. It doesn't matter where you eat it. It tastes the same everywhere.
Awesome.
Germany, Asia.
It tastes the same.
Sweden, Finland, it tastes the same.
Good to know. You know, one thing Bridget has that we have in this room is, you know, to wear that pride, to be Cree, to be Soto, to be from Kahkewistahaw. Bridget, when you exited the local hockey scene, and you went to sometimes where you were the only First Nations in the room, where's your strength to bring that identity to continue to show who you were, not by bragging, but just by resilience? If you could just share a little bit of how you carried that, because some of our kids are going to get to that level and some are there. And sometimes it's hard to leave your community and just be the only person in the room that looks like you. So if you could just share a little bit about just, what you learned and how you carried that through your journey.
Yeah, throughout, I had a lot of, like, even through college, I had, I had some really good coaches and I had some pretty bad ones. And my assistants in Duluth were awesome. They were very, they didn't try to be the smartest person in the room. And they're always ready to learn and they're always ready to ask questions. My head coach, on the other hand, was a bit ignorant. And there were times where, having a conversation with her was very difficult. There were times where I bit my tongue because I just just let her talk, right? And I found that pretty difficult. However, being there, it was, I had, this plan set, these goals set where it was like, I have to be here. This is a place that's going to help me get to this next level. And, my family, I found, they're always very, my parents are always just, they harped on this from a young age to always finish what you start. So if you're gonna decide to do it, like, do it with the best of your ability and complete it. And that was something that I was always in the back of my mind, even times where I didn't want to show up, or I just didn't want to go. Like, it was like, okay, well, I have to. It was kind of like just ingrained in my mind that that I wanted to complete it, and I'm so glad that I did. I showed up on those days where it was hard. Throughout the national team, it was the same thing. I had teammates that were pretty ignorant, that made comments that made it difficult to be at the arena. However, again, like, it was, in that situation, I know that I didn't see myself as when I was on the ice, like, I didn't see myself as a First Nation player. I just felt like I was just on, right? And it was that's what I was focused on. I was focused on being the best possible player that I could be when I was on the ice. And the color, it was just like the color didn't matter because obviously I'm here for a reason, right? So again, it was showing up on those hard days, and there are going to be people that are going to make it hard for you to show up. However, it's those ones that will stick by you, those ones that aren't technically family, but they feel like family, that make you feel so welcome. The negative people don't. It doesn't even matter what they say or what they're doing, right? So, it's just focusing on your goals and doing whatever you can to achieve.
Thank you, Bridget. One thing I just wanted to share, what Bridget was sharing is, focus on your goals, but sometimes you got to understand the people you're playing with, they never learned the truth of who we are and what our truth is. And though sometimes they're going to make comments or say something, and as resilient people, as people from Kahkewistahaw, we always got to give a little benefit of the doubt that they were never educated on who we are and what our truth is. So if someone ever makes an ignorant comment, and we know hockey can get sometimes a little emotional when you get older and comments are being said, we got to stick to who we are and that identity and be proud of it. And if someone makes comments, sometimes you just got to be like those penguins on Madagascar. Just smile and wave, boys, smile and wave, because you can't change them all. But Bridget, I just one last question, and I'm going to ask if anybody has a question. To the parents and guardians in the room, is there something that your parents and Kukum and Mushum, that just stuck out to you that, really helped you get to where you are today, that maybe you could just share a word or two with the parents and guardians in the room?
Yeah, growing up in Mallard, my parents had my sister in hockey, myself, and my brother. My brother's 4 years younger than me. So there were times where, my parents couldn't because my mom was still going to school, right? So she'd be adopted already, and it really took a whole, the whole village to raise us. And I had my dad grew up in a pretty big family. He has like 6 brothers and 1 sister, and so I grew up with all my cousins. And it was always, in Mallard, it was my uncle, my kukunchu, our house, my auntie's house, and my other uncle lived just down the road, and they all had kids. So, it took everyone to kind of step up and, either drive us to practice, or, it was always another, one of my 3 uncles always, stepped up and was like, okay, we'll take them, we'll do it. And I had this one uncle that hated to be late. My uncle Dwayne, the one, he's the one who lost his hearing and used to, but he's a very he's very hard on time. It's like if we wanted to be there at an hour and 10 minutes before, he'll get us there an hour and 10 minutes before. And we didn't. And that was kind of where I learned a lot from him. Was he would we set a time, it was like show up right on time or show up 5 minutes before. We were never late when we were with them. My other uncles, they always made sure that we were fed. I had my aunties, their wives. If we didn't eat, my mom wasn't home because she was still at work or still at school. My dad was driving the bus, or the other with my brother, and they would call our house and be like, "You guys eat yet?" You're like, "Come over, we made a plate for you." So then we just walk over to their house. Sometimes we had 2 meals because I had one auntie and then I had the other auntie telling us to come over. But yeah, it honestly it took the whole village, and you don't realize the impact that you have on the younger generation until I felt like I didn't realize it until I was in my 30s, honestly, where it was like reflecting back on my life and growing up in Mallard. It was hard because we didn't grow up with a lot of money, but I felt like we were very rich and the people that we were surrounded by.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bridget. I'm going to leave the floor open if there's any comments or questions for Bridget.
How old are you?
Yes.
22?
Oh.
I wish.
30?
33.
Hear that? 33. Good question. George, go ahead.
Bridget, I just wanted to see, I'm the goalie for our men's team here, and I just wanted to know your feelings on when you're standing in that hallway when you get on the ice, and what your thoughts and feelings are when you're just about to hit that ice and get into the game.
I felt like I wasn't focused until I actually got on the ice. It just wasn't I couldn't think. There's a lot of things in my life. I feel like I can't think about it too hard. Otherwise, I get sick myself. I had teammates that were as soon as they got to their break, it was okay, please.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
She's trying to
You're not sure. Did you go to the tryout this weekend?
Oh, yeah. They had one this month, and then they're at the other camp in December.
Cool. Honestly, just skate hard and do, put the work in today, tomorrow, next day. Put work in early, so then you can the benefits of going on the ice in December. It takes a lot of consistency to get to that point, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it. So you can achieve that set goal.
Awesome. Any last comments or questions? Bridget, I just want to say, I can picture you on the bus rolling up those pucks, or where you were and she talks about consistency. It's just making sure every morning that you just work at it one day at a time. You're not going to be a champion in one day. It's one day at a time. And Bridget, I just want to say in closing, we're all learning our own history. And there was a time when Bridget's great grandparents, they probably couldn't go and play sports beyond the reserve because of something in history that we're learning. But it was her parents and her aunties and uncles and the prayers from her grandparents and all them that made Bridget break every ceiling possible, that she made it all the way to the top with her ring that she shared with us, with the medals. And it wasn't easy. That wasn't just a success because she didn't fail or didn't have any setbacks. She did. But Bridget, thank you for showing our youth that it's about one day at a time and you can achieve your goal. She comes from a similar community like yours here in Kahkewistahaw, and that's the message she wants to bring. You don't have to be the next Bridget Laquette. You can be the next you and your big goals, but you got someone that has been there and done that and did all of what you're doing, so you can do it as well. So let's give it up for Bridget Laquette for coming to let's take a 10-minute. We'll come back at just about top of the hour, and we'll start with our second part. So let's take a 10-minute break.
Not really food. So I'm still hungry.
Guys remember me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in old chapter.
Oh, there we go.
See the fellas?
Another hour.
Hey.
I don't know, got the message?
Good.
What we're gonna do
Yeah, it's like I where we just sat down. I'm sure I'll talk to them and see how they see themselves. If they kind of figure out ways to go, and then I'll do what they're out. Okay, sounds good. I'll do that. Thanks for putting that away. I'll do it like next year.
Oh, yeah, there you go, yeah. That's good, yeah. I'll get it back. Yes. This was good. Oh, they built it. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
We're good.
Everyone will be lives.
Oh, Brandon, Nolan, Tina, fucking, we couldn't do it, Tina. Actually.
Yep. Shooters prefer gold. Sorry? Oh, yeah. Are you still obligated? No, but this one, you got that division. Right off the bat.
They're gonna make them fruit. What is it that wouldn't give sauce? Love me, love me, love me, love me.
No, I still. The kind of guy that says that, well, he's not so much, and there's someone coming, you're like, no worries,
Yeah, I tried that. Every day. What? This is why I take care of people. Bro, I don't have a. When did you get your exam? Why not go to normal at night? You guys can look to hours. I don't know my phone to 5 hours. I'm trying to get something called a draw rate. How are you? I didn't clean up my mom's lost my phone. So I'm trying to activate my dad and then hide it. So my mom lost. And now I'm going to her the phone and I can give this to her now. This ever happened? No, it hasn't happened.
Oh, yeah.
That means I'm going to be there. Me, Kim's going to be there, and Tim's going to be there.
Yeah. They're mostly the same.
I'm going to be there, and Tim's going to be there. It doesn't work when you're working. Oh, what to do for the next week? First try. Well, I could probably do that first try. You can do it.
So everyone, after the first speaker, will give out tickets. All the prizes are on the back table there. After we're done all the presentations and stuff for today, we'll draw names. One rule that we're doing is you gotta be here to claim your prize. So if you're not here to claim the prize, then we're moving on. So and everyone come up and grab a ticket.
One line.
One line, yeah.
Parents and coaches too.
Yeah, parents and coaches too, yeah.
Good prizes. Not like that right now, but I'm like stronger than that.
No, you can, there's another one after. Hey, I'm not a secret. No,
Everyone has a ticket?
yeah, once again, we'll give out, we'll hand out more tickets after the Nolan speak here. One little housekeeping, tip is just make sure we pick up our garbage after ourselves. Yeah, I think that's about it. Other than that, I'll let Travis, take a second.
We'll take a minute.
Garbage cans in the back, guys, just put it on the joint gate. Keep our place clean. There you go. Have you joined?
Zero, 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 0, 0, 0. 4 zeros and 87. If you got a mistake, I'll be like,
All right, we'll get started on our second part. Was her elbow up? That old chap elbow was up high there. How's everybody enjoying today so far? Pretty good? Awesome. How many of the parents in our room think you could still outrun your kids? Oh, there's a few out there. Be careful putting up your hand. You might have to call you to action on that. You know, our real, I just want to introduce my co-MC, my son Kingsley. He's hanging out with us today. He went to the Ethan Bear hockey camp last week. He did U of R soccer camp a few weeks ago, and so he's really big into sports, and he wants to come hang out today as well. Our next speakers this afternoon, and I thank you for giving them a beautiful Kahkewistahaw welcome. I know it's not easy always listening to speakers, but you sitting here and giving Bridget that respect and that nice calmness and quietness to open your ears, and that really speaks a lot to the resilience of your community. So thank you very much for that. Our next speakers remind us in the room that sports is bigger than just a sport. It's about family, about community, about giving back. Ted Nolan and his sons Jordan and Brandon experienced the NHL in many different ways. And from their experience coming from a First Nation around Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, now today they have a hockey camp, a hockey school. And in their hockey school, they teach leadership and giving back to your community and what it means to carry that respect to be Indigenous. And that's the message that they want to bring to us today, to talk about that. So let's give it up to Ted, Brandon, and Jordan Nolan for coming to Kahkewistahaw today. Awesome. Yep, go ahead. All
right, how's it going? Thanks to, I want to thank Nathan for inviting us here today, and Kahkewistahaw for inviting us up here, introducing us. But as Kahkewistahaw said, we're the three Nolans. I figured I'd speak first. I have the least amount of accomplishments. Played a little bit in the NHL, but I never won NHL Coach of the Year and 3 Stanley Cups like my brother Jordan. So, but I think at the start we're gonna, get up, move a little bit. We're gonna play a quick game. Someone's gonna win a hat. They can pick whatever hat they want. All you gotta do is stand up. All you gotta do is stand up. Okay? Easy rules. I'm gonna flip a coin. You go hands on your head, hands on your butt. Okay? If it's heads, you get to stay in the game. If it's tails, you're out. If it's tails, your hands on your butt, you get to stay in the game. And if it's heads, you're out. So you just gotta be right, and it only takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and someone will win a hat. Okay? Okay. So we'll go. Hands gotta be on your head or your butt. Heads or tails? Heads or tails? Locked in? Continuing is all the heads. All the tails, sit down. All the tails, sit down. All right, next round. You can change it if you want, or you can keep heads. Heads or tails? Everyone's good? Here we go. All the tails are still in. All right. Next round. Next round. Heads or tails? Here we go. Moving on is tails. Who's left? 2? All right, right here. Right in the front. Don't face each other. Yeah, there you go. Face the other way. Heads or tails? Oh, heads.
Oh.
You both won.
Pick again, pick again.
Heads or tails?
There you go.
All right, there you go. Someone's gonna win. Winner is heads. We'll do one more after George or Ted speak, but that hat's from our Three Nolans brand. Like Kevin said, we do hockey schools all across Canada. We used to come to OCHAP a couple of years ago. I think it was back in 2017, 2018, which was just a great experience. I think it was our first time in Saskatchewan. So came out here for a couple of years, and then happy to see Ethan take it over and do a great camp over there, which we hear. So, but like I said, we go all across Canada and First Nation communities, hoping to inspire. We're just three Ojibways from Gardner First Nation. Grew up in a small community. Like I said, we're all lucky enough to play in the NHL. My father played with Detroit, Pittsburgh. Like I said, George won 3 Stanley Cups. I was fortunate enough to play with the Carolina Hurricanes a little bit. But just to tell you a quick little bit about myself, just growing up in Gardner First Nation, absolutely loved hockey. Like I loved hockey. Always on the outdoor rink, always playing in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. My father coached the local junior hockey team, so like the Regina Pats equivalent, Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So they won 3 league titles, and they won the Memorial Cup in 1993. So at that time, I was only 10 years old in 1993, and I just, watching them win championships, watching them win, like I said, league titles and World Cup, like it just made me fall in love even more with the game. Just always at the rink, always, the guys, I was 10 years old at the time, but the guys were only 17, 18, 19-year-olds. They weren't that much older than me, but it felt like they were big, burly men, watching them play junior hockey. And then, moving to Hartford, my dad took a job with the Hartford Whalers. And then moved to Buffalo, where he coached the Buffalo Sabres. And then my hockey career kind of picked up and took off, I guess, around the age of 15, 16 years old. We started to get really serious about hockey. I got drafted by the Oshawa Generals in the OHL. Pretty historic team and franchise where like Eric Lindros played, Bobby Orr, couple other guys. But I was pretty fortunate enough to get drafted there, like I said, at the age of 16. Moved to the city of Oshawa when I was 17 years old, which was really, really tough. Just moving away from home for the first time. We're a pretty close family. Mom spoiled us for sure. My mom Sandra, cooked every meal for us, did our laundry, made our bed. So we were spoiled growing up. And moving away for the first time when I was 17 was pretty tough and eye-opening. I had to live with a new family. Who I still talk to today, so which is pretty cool. But I just started moving there for the first time, and just wanted to go home after the first couple of weeks. It was really tough. Miss my family, miss my friends, but it was just a step you had to take. Like I always wanted to play in the NHL. I always wanted to get drafted, play in the NHL, and I figured this was a step I had to take, playing junior hockey. I got drafted by New Jersey Devils when I was 17 years old, and then I was drafted again by the Vancouver Canucks when I was 19 years old. So I was fortunate enough to get drafted twice, which was, I guess, kind of rare at the time. But signed with the Canucks when I was 19 years old, and moving away from home, but getting to live with a family when I was 17 was pretty tough. But then signing a pro contract and moving away from home and having to live with myself was a whole different story. Moving to the city of Winnipeg, played with the Manitoba Moose on and off for 3 years. Eating all my meals at Earl's, drinking all my meals at Olive Garden, never really cooking for myself. So moving to Winnipeg was really tough. It was just not just tough like moving away, it was also tough like having to play pro hockey, having to try and perform. You hear people say it all the time, like the physical part of the game is really tough, but the mental part of the game is probably the toughest part. Moving away from home, having to perform every night. I didn't play much. I was really young. I was 19, 20 years old. I didn't play much. I only got like 2 or 3 shifts a game, and it was really tough. The goal is obviously to make the NHL. Then you have the AHL, which is right below it, which I was at with the Manitoba Moose. And then there's another league below that, which if you get further away, it's not good. you're further away from your dream. And I went down to that league. I went down to the East Coast Hockey League, played in South Carolina for this South Carolina Columbia Inferno. So as I said, just got further away from my dream. Wasn't playing much. Wasn't playing all that great. And I kind of gave up on my NHL dream at the age of I think it was 23, 24. I decided to move to Europe, move to Sweden, play hockey over there. Played in this little town called Vaxsjö. Got to make a little bit of money. Got to see all parts of Europe. I remember going over there. Went to like Czech Republic. Went to Switzerland. Went to Austria. So got to see all these cool places. I never would have gotten experience if I didn't go over there and play hockey. So that was really cool. And then I went over there in August. It lasted until I think like late November, early December. It lasted like 4 or 5 months. Really missed Canada, missed my family. I went over there by myself. And the team that I was on, they were allowed 2, like they're called imports, so 2 guys from North America, myself and another guy from the United States. The United States guy ended up breaking his leg and going home. So I was kind of by myself outside of the other guys on the team. But all the guys on the team, this was like a lower league. All the guys had either guys were going to school or guys had full-time jobs. So like my line mate was a painter in the local city. My other line mate was the accountant for the team. So like there was no one to hang out with during the day. And I just decided to come home, come back to Canada, give it one more chance. Went back to the American Hockey League, the AHL, signed with Bridgeport Sound Tigers. Played pretty good, and then I got scouted, I guess, by the Carolina Hurricanes. I signed with the Albany River Rats when I was 25 years old. Going into my 5th year playing pro. And everywhere we go, like with the kids that attend our camps or events like this, I always tell you, like, it's really important, if you're lucky enough to get someone that believes in you and shows a lot of support to you and shows that they want you to do well in life. And up until that point, I never really had a coach that believed in me and saw something in me. And then my 5th year pro, I finally got that with the Albany River Rats. His name was Tom Rowe. And I think my dad actually beat him up when they played against each other when they were playing pro back in the day. But Tom Rowe he gave me a chance. I actually played quite a bit. Started getting points, started playing more, started playing like probably the best hockey in my entire life. And then a couple of days before Christmas, December 23rd, I played my first NHL game in Carolina with the Hurricanes against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which was really cool. Played against like Vincent Lecavalier, Brad Richards, Martin St. Louis, who's obviously now the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, Thomas Caberlet. So there was all these stars, and here I am from Gardner First Nation playing in Carolina against those guys, and it was just really cool, playing my first NHL game, wanting to do that my entire life, and realizing that dream at the age of 25 was pretty cool. A couple days later, December 26th, played at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers, played against Jaromir Jagr, Scott Gomez, guys like that. Got a chance to play against Colorado, Atlanta Thrashers at the time, they still had a team, a couple other teams. But, like I said, I played my first NHL game on December 23rd, or December 22nd. And then on February 22nd, only 2 months later, suffered a concussion, which ended my hockey career forever. I never played again. It was just like, boom, my career was over. Had real bad post-concussion syndrome, really dizzy. Bright lights like this at the time would really bug me. Couldn't really read for too long. It was extremely dizzy. Just not a good feeling at all, like really bad concussion syndromes. So that ended my career at the age of 25, just like I said, like 2 months after playing my first NHL game, which I thought like I was on the rise. I was gonna have a decent NHL career, maybe make a little bit of money and then do whatever later. But just like that, within 2 months, being at the happiest point in my life, to one of the most saddest and downest parts of my life, with my career being over. Like I said, I just loved hockey, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was only 25 years old. And then, decided to get married and having 3 kids, which is the best decision I've made in my life. This is the second best decision I ever decided to go back to school. Enrolled in Durham College at the age of 27. Got a diploma in marketing, which at the time I only chose marketing because I thought it was the easiest thing that I could graduate doing. Like I didn't want to do math and accounting. I didn't want to do project management, so I just picked marketing because I thought it was the easiest. So graduated from Durham College 3 years later with a diploma. Because before that, when I retired at age 25 and 27, that time frame where I didn't go to school, I was just like, I worked at a sports store, like minimum wage. I was working construction. I was like sweeping floors, lugging lumber, doing whatever I could, and like not making much money at all. I just had my first child at the time, so that's like the decision why I decided to go back to school. Like I didn't know what the heck I was gonna do. I didn't want to do that forever, so like I said, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Went back to school, got educated, allowed me to get a couple of jobs. Worked a little bit with the Ontario government. Worked a little bit with Chief Bill Fontaine with his consulting company. So I got all these small jobs from graduating and getting education. And then back in 2013, we decided to start Three Nolans. We do like 2 or 3 camps a summer. Jordan was still playing at the time. I think my father was still coaching at the time. But it was just like a little small project where we can inspire kids, get them to the rink, teach them hockey skills, but more importantly, like Kevin said, teach them about leadership, teach them about being a good community member, treating people kindly, working hard. All these things that sound pretty simple, like treating people kindly and working hard, like sounds really simple. But a lot of people don't do it. They're not willing to do it. So if we can instill in our youth, which we found at a very early stage in our hockey school, kind of hammer this in their brain, and like it's just like I said, it's really simple to do, but not a lot of people are willing to do it. So that was kind of like the pillar of our hockey school. Like yes, playing hockey is fun, and playing hockey is cool, but things you need in life to be successful are much more important, and that's always been like the staple of our hockey school, and what we're proud of the most. Coming here, like I said, back in 2018, and seeing the Bear sisters go off to college and get scholarships, or seeing other people come to our hockey school and do the things that they do. So, like I said, in 2013, it started pretty small, and now we're up to, we do 10, 12 hockey schools a year. We get to come to cool events like this, kind of spread our message. And so in the past 13 years, like a lot of stuff has changed for us. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but we're just happy to hopefully inspire young kids like these, inspire kids to do something great in life, get educated, get a good job, do something for your community, do something for your people, because that's really the most important. No one's going to do it for us but us. So that's what I've learned from my parents growing up, and that's what we're trying to do with our hockey school. So. Like I said, it's just an honor to be here today, see everyone. It's nice to be back in the area. And so looking forward to any questions anyone has later on. But like I said, just proud and honored to be here, and especially with my father and my brother spreading the message. So I know the Eric's going to say a few short words, but on behalf of myself, thanks for listening, and looking forward to meeting everyone in person and giving away some more prizes.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, excited to be here. Flew late last night. They were off to school the other day, but these are the kind of events that we enjoy doing. Playing in the NHL was fun, but I didn't get out here to is what we enjoy doing now. But for the kids in the room, and anyone doesn't know, my name is Jordan Nolan. I played in the NHL for 6 or 7 years. I played for the LA Kings, Buffalo Sabres, St. Louis Blues, and I brought my 3 Stanley Cup rings with me. So I'm not sure if anyone's a Kings fan here. I think everyone's maybe Oilers, Jets, Flames, Toronto. The Jets or Edmonton here?
Jets.
And
there you are.
He's the only Jets fan.
That's a moose.
Yeah, so my story kind of started, I would say, when I was grade 7, grade 8. My brother was away playing hockey, my dad was coaching. But I got drafted to the Ontario Hockey League to Erie, Pennsylvania. And I was, again, just a normal kid. I had a stay-at-home mom. We used to love to bake us goods and feed us, so I didn't take hockey very seriously. I was a bigger kid, and I wanted to play the OHL. I wanted to move away and play hockey. So I had to start training for the first time in my life in probably grade 10. I started working out again. I started eating healthier. My dad would force me to work out because he had to lose some weight. So he used to cut a hole in a garbage bag and put my head through my arm shoe, and I go run around the neighborhood for about an hour and a half. And I lost 30 pounds that summer, and then I was making the team. So I had left home in grade 11. And then during that time, my brother was playing hockey in Manitoba for the Moose. My dad was coaching in Quebec Major Junior Hockey League in Montreal, New Brunswick. I was living in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is a totally different place. It's pretty much like the movies. You have the jocks and football guys wearing the Letterman jackets, the girls, cheerleaders wearing their uniforms to school. So it was a lot different from where we come from. But I eventually got homesick, came home at Christmas time, got traded to the Winter Spitfires, played there for 2 years, traded again, played for the Sioux Greyhounds. And I always thought, how come I was drafted in the NHL? I thought I was a good player, but I wasn't working hard, I wasn't doing the right things, I wasn't taking hockey very seriously. And as soon as I started doing those things, I started making changes in my personal life. Again, I had to start working out more, I had to start taking things more seriously. And I got drafted to the LA Kings in the 7th round as a 19-year-old. And that was a bit of a shock. And usually don't get drafted as a 19-year-old, you're 17 or 18. But there I got to meet someone not too far from here, Dwight King. I think he played for the Round Lake Bears. So I know he loved playing out here. But yeah, so me and Dwight King lived together. We lived together in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we both got called up our second year there. It was myself, Dwight King, Jake Muzzin, who played for the Toronto Maple Leafs a little bit in LA. And Dwight King woke me up one morning today. We just got called up to the NHL. So when you get called up to the NHL, you don't know how long you're going for. You just get a random call saying, hey, you're going to join the team tomorrow. So you pack a bag, whether it's for one game or 1 week or 1 month. You really have no clue. So we packed a little backpack, hopped in the cab from Manchester, New Hampshire, down to Long Island. Played my first NHL game in February of 2012. And my line was Dwight King and Mike Richards from Nora. And then a few months go by, and again, you're just kind of trying to survive in NHL. You're trying to work your hardest. I'm playing for Daryl Sutter, who's known to be a little bit of an intense coach, and you really had no days off there. There's no time to relax, kind of enjoy the moment. Every practice, every workout, every game, I pretty much had to try my hardest, and I was pretty much fighting to stick around because no one's there to kind of tap you in the back saying, "No, you're doing a great job," or keep going, we're proud of you. You're kind of treated like a grown-up and like you're at a real job where you're expected to do those things every day. So you don't really get a pat in the back for trying your hardest. It's kind of expected when you're up there during that time. But we won the Stanley Cup that year in 2012. And if anyone has seen the pictures of our community, Garden First Nation, famous bridge, Mississippian land. And if you Google that, you can see us up there with the Stanley Cup. And when we brought the Stanley Cup back, we had a powwow. We got to see the elders, and really just share with the community. It would be something like this, we brought the Stanley Cup back, and we did that in 2012 and 2014. And then after LA, I played for the Buffalo Sabres. I got to play with Ryan O'Reilly, Jack Eichel, Evander Kane, Sam Reinhart, and also when we talk to the kids, we talk to the youth or parents or whatever it is. Lots of our talks about leadership, and making sure you're surrounded by the right people. And if you're a coach or if you're an athlete or a student, making sure you're following the right people. In LA, we had great leaders, we had great captains, we had a great coach, we had a great manager, we had great owners. And then sometimes you play for other teams where the coach maybe isn't so great, the manager's not so great, and then teams are surprised and they don't do well. So we didn't have a great coach in Buffalo. We had good players, like I said, we had Jack Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly, Sam Reinhart, Vander Kane, Bristol Lyman, Zach Bogosian, Jake McCabe, we had Benoit Pouliot, we had Robin Leonard, who was good at one time. But we didn't have strong leadership, and that's why we were a very successful team. And the next year, I played for the St. Louis Blues. I went up and down with the team. I played with Jordan Binnington in the American Hockey League. And we both kind of got called up at the same time. And we were underdogs that year. And we were the last place team in the NHL. Kind of no one believed in us. Craig Rubik took over and kind of lit a fire under everyone. Told them the truth that we weren't working our hardest. We do a lot better, and we can do a lot better. And then a couple months later, we found ourselves playing the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals, and then again we got to bring the Stanley Cup home back to Garden. But I think for the youth is I think it's mainly about just trying your hardest, making sacrifice. I think Bridget said getting better day by day. And when I was in school, I didn't like giving presentations. In grade school, I didn't like doing presentations. We moved a lot. In high school, I wasn't a great student, and I barely graduated. And then I think when I was 19, 20 years old is when I started learning about work ethic and commitment and expecting more of myself. And that transferred over to everything that I did in life. Because I started working harder at the rink or away from the rink, I started, working better with my family, working better at our hockey school. It transferred over to everything. I enjoyed being successful at hockey, so now I want to be as successful at it's whatever I can do in life. And then that happened after my career also. After my career, I was like many people, kind of in COVID, nothing to do. So like my brother had to go back to school, so I signed up for firefighting, became a certified firefighter. I reached out to my former team, the LA Kings, and I worked for the LA Kings. A TV show reached out to us. Anyone has heard of the show Shoresy? So we work on a TV show now on Crave, the hockey comedies. But all these things kind of happen, I would think, over time. Like I said, I wasn't a hard worker when I was 12 years old. I got better when I was 15, better when I was 19, better when I was 30. So it took time. I think my brother said about being a good person. If I wasn't a good person, if I didn't have a strong work ethic, when I played with the LA Kings when I was 22 years old, they probably wouldn't have hired me and brought me back when I was 35 years old. Jared Kiesel, who's the star and creator of Shoresy, he reached out to us before season 1 and said, hey, we need you guys for 6 days of work, would you be interested? And we said, yeah, we had nothing else to do. We said, why not try something new? And again, we showed up there, totally different job than playing hockey, but it's all similar. You try your hardest, you come up, you show up on time, you show up prepared, and you do your best. And that's what we did for season 1, and we're going to start shooting season 6 in November. So I think that just shows, if you keep working hard and keep trying your best, people want to be around that. People want to be around positive people, and they want to experience it. They don't want to show up and hang out with lazy people. They don't move, complain all the time. They want to be around people who listen, and that's really important. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here. My dad's gonna talk a little bit. We'll do some questions after. Again, if you have any questions about my career or Shoresy or firefighting, or anything else, we're happy to answer. I'm not sure if the wondering's going around maybe right now.
Just one.
One's going around. We do some photos after.
Goalie's got it.
Always got it. But yeah, thanks for having me. And next, I think my dad's going to speak. Right? One day the Jets will win that.
Next year.
So, I don't know what's going to happen. I think Halbeck's going to leave.
No, he's gonna stay.
David might leave.
This thing.
Well, thanks for having me. And I think my dad's going to speak right now.
That's right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good day on the deck. As you know, I'm Ted. My wife is her name is Sandra. We're the parents of Brandon and Jordan. I grew up on the Third River First Nation. It's a smaller than yours, I think, maybe a little bit bigger. When I grew up, there was about 500, 600 people in our community. It's called the Third River First Nation. I'm from a large family, got 6 brothers and 5 sisters. And I grew up kind of like, probably like your grandparents did. We didn't have indoor electricity. We didn't have indoor plumbing. A lot of times, there wasn't too much food to eat in the house. It was a lot of stuff that people shouldn't be doing back then, but at least that was the way people coped. There was a lot of drinking and a lot of fighting going on. And growing up in that environment, it was kind of tough. It was really hard. We didn't have much money. I tell the story where I go. My first pair of skates were probably about size maybe 8. My feet were size 5, 4. And I just put rubber boots on and put them inside and made them fit. And that's why I would learn how to skate. Like made a rink. I see the new rink outside here. I made a rink in my backyard, and I tell this to every kid I meet. It's like life in general. It's about one day at a time. It's about one step at a time. It's about one project at a time. And I made that rink in my backyard, one pail of water at a time. I carried it around the corner of my house and packed down some snow with my feet and put the pail down. And I walked back and I did it again. I was about 8 years old. It must have took me forever. But that's how I learned how to play. And my parents finally had enough money to put me in the recreation league in Sioux City Marine when I was about 10, 11 years old. And that's when I really fell in love with the game. And I played, and I was pretty lucky that one day someone saw me play. I was 15 years old. And they asked me to try out for the local junior hockey team. Coming from recreation hockey, that doesn't happen too much. So I went and tried out with the Sioux City Marine Greyhounds in the interior hockey. I didn't make it. And they asked me to go to the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. I played with a team called the Kenora Thistles. And I went there, and that was the first time I've ever been away from home. Because around home, I grew up in a powwow trail. It was a fancy dancer, so I was about 17, 18 years old. We played local softball on our community, which I think we had one of the better teams in the nation, if I would say. Because we had the best pitcher in Canada at the time. My cousin, his name is Darren Zach. He was their softball pitcher, so we went into the city and we beat those guys all the time. But that's what the environment that I grew up with. And when I was 16 years old, I got asked to go to Kenora, Ontario. And that was probably the biggest turning point when I think some of the young kids are going to reach that point where they have to leave home. Like Brandon and Jordan, when they left home, I still remember Brandon crying like a little baby. He was 15 years old and wanted to come back home. Jordan doing the same thing, he wanted to come back home. And unfortunately, we're such loving people, we said, okay, my boy, come back home. My father just passed away before I went to Kenora, so there was nobody saying, come on back home. I was in Kenora by myself. So I didn't want them to chase. And people kept telling us, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. And I really made the difference. I think we can do anything that we want to do, except we got to work. We got to work at it. And so I stayed. I stayed in Kenora as much as I hated the team, as much as I hated the town. I stayed. and I won rookie of the year on the team, scored 35 goals. I came back home the following year, I made the Super Rounds, and a few years later, I got drafted to the jump in Detroit. So it's that tough goal that people go through that you don't stick with them long enough to find out what's at the end of the rainbow. And you just got to persevere and fight through it, and good things happen. I tell this to everybody I go. When I played my first game against Chicago, in the old Chicago Stadium, where Bobby Hall and Keenan and all those guys played, I laid tobacco inside the arena before I played. And I didn't lay it because, boy, I'm proud of myself when I played. No, it's for our forefathers before us, our leaders before us who paved the way for us to get to where we want to get to or have to get to. And that's why the people before us went through so much more than what I had to go through. And so I paid tribute to them. I played that first game. The next game I scored my first goal. And then a couple of years later, boom, I got hurt. And I was like Jordan. When I was only 26 years old, I was, I tell you the truth, I didn't want to be a hockey player when I was a kid. That was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to become a police officer, what I really wanted to do. But hockey just kind of fell in love. So anyway, I was 26 years old. I got hurt, and I was done. And like Jordan said, like Brandon said, in hockey, what are you going to do? And so I went back to school. I went back to Lake Superior State University. I was going to work on a business degree. And that's when some of the people in the room, as old as I am, remember the name Phil Esposito. Phil Esposito owned the Super Rams, the team that I played with. And he asked if I'd become interested in being a coach. So I went and became a part-time assistant coach. They fired the head coach within 2 months I was there. They asked me to take over. I took over the team. I didn't have a foggiest idea what I was doing as a coach because I never coached before in my life. But then the fans started booing. Our team wasn't very good, and I was just a god-awful coach. So I went out, when they started booing, it was almost like they're booing us again. They're telling us we can't do certain things. So I went studying to be a coach. I learned how to make line changes. I learned how to practice. I learned all this stuff. And all of all, next year we won the league championship. We won the Ontario Hockey League championship. We went to the Memorial Cup. Next year we won it again. We went back. And in the third year we won it again. We went to the Memorial Cup 3 years in a row. We won it in 1993. And that's when the NHL came calling. I coached the Hartford Whalers for 1 year, which is now the Carolina Hurricanes. Then next year I got the Buffalo Sabres job. And but the simple things that I believe in, I really believe in power of work. Whatever you have, you might not be the most skilled, but you can certainly do it. So I got the team to work real hard, and we won the Northeast Division title. I even won NHL Coach of the Year in the NHL group that year. And then it's like somebody coming in the room and turning the lights off. They let me go, and they started making up these rumors of why they wanted me out. They said I was drunk at practice all the time. So they say it with some of our people. So that was a good one to pick up. I was lazy. I didn't practice enough. I didn't listen to authority. All this stuff. So they started making up all this stuff, and I was out. And I was frustrated. I really was. I got really. I went into not a very good place for about 5 years because I was mad. And somebody takes something away from you that you think you earned, and it was taken away. And I was in a very dark place for 5 years. And then all of a sudden, I just thought of it. My mother was killed by a drunk driver when I was only 20 years old. And I was the one that honor her in some way. Because I really believe that the power of the community are with me. So I started to talk to some chiefs back home. We created a golf tournament, and we raised money for First Nation women's scholarship, whoever wanted to go off to university colleges. And lo and behold, our first recipient, she's a medical doctor. Her son works with my two boys at hockey schools too, so it's kind of neat. We give out scholarships we raised. I like hockey, but what we did with the scholarships and what have you, we raised over $3 million to give out scholarships, not only in Ontario, but we're right across Canada. And about 5 years ago, 10 years ago now, we give out all the remaining money that we had into our project. We give it off to universities, and they're continuing to give the scholarships. So these scholarships we've given out for a long, long time. So that's good. So I really enjoyed it. I thought I found my really true calling. This is what I was really meant to do. And then I got a call one day from Mr. Robert Irving of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey. He called me up and asked if I'd be interested in coaching. And I knew the Irving family did really well. So I had no idea. I didn't want to coach. I was definitely coaching, but I wanted to meet him because I had a foundation. Maybe he could give me some money to help my foundation. So I went and met with him. Lo and behold, he talked me into it. We went to Memorial Cup with the Moncton Wildcats. I coached Brad Marchand, Keith Yandel, all those guys, and they even got called back into the NHL. He coached the Buffalo Sabres again. I coached the New York Islanders again. Then I got a really interesting call from a real small country overseas by the name of Latvia. And they asked if I'd be interested in coaching their national team. And I went over, and one of the best decisions I ever made. We qualified for the Olympics. And I coached in 2014 in Sochi, Russia, which was one of the highlights. It was a lot of fun, and I look back to it and I'm happy with it. But anyways, going all through that stuff, I just want to give you a little bit of what we did. But when I listen to the speakers speak, they'll talk with their accomplishments. The one thing I wanted to learn was how. Don't tell me what. Tell me how did you do it? And then I started thinking about myself. What did I do in order to get to where I got to? And from my first pair of skates, from my father telling me when I was a little boy, you don't have to have the best in order to be the best. You can work with what you have. And that's the way I trained my boys. They wanted these new fancy hockey sticks. And Brandon still tells his friends that they're all like these really nice fancy bikes when they were kids. I just got them on the Kmart, got them a regular bike. It works like everything else. So just work with what you had. So number one thing is powerful. The young people, you give up too soon. Number two was a word I never really knew the meaning of. Is about perseverance. I didn't even know what the word was, but until I went to Kenora, and I went there and I played and I got bullied and picked on, and I didn't like hockey anymore, and I was homesick. But I wanted to stay, and I persevered through it. And I stayed, and then I went back and I got drafted. So you got to work, you got to persevere through things, and the power of belief that you can. Because nobody else is going to tell you you can't. You got to believe. Because my boys even ask me once in a while, they say, "Dad, what kind of player were you?" I said, "Well, everybody can see me. I'm not a very big guy. I wasn't very big. I couldn't skate that well. I couldn't shoot the puck that hard because I did little skinny Ojibwe arms. I wasn't that tough." And they said, "How the heck did you ever make it anyways?" And I said, "I made it because I believed in it. And whatever you believe, that's going to be your outcome at the end. So believe." And the power of belief is such a powerful thing. I'll close off by I like to share this story before I go. And my boys probably heard it 1,000 times, but I'll close it off before we get into some questions. As I said, I grew up in a power trip. A good friend of mine, he was our local medicine man. He used to hit ceremony in his house all the time. We went over to his house and helped him with the sweat lodges and what have you. And I coached the Buffalo Sabres. And one of the players walked up to me one practice. He said, "Hey, coach, I watched a movie last night called Dances with Wolves." I said, "Did you ever see it?" I said, "I certainly can." said, are you one of those guys? Like a real Indian? Like the best kind of Indian? Here's a Russian guy. So I give him a little slack. I said, yeah, actually, I'm one of those real Indians. He said, do you think you could bring they had a medicine man on that show. And the medicine man is supposed to be pretty powerful. I said, do you think you can get a medicine man in talking to our team? This is the end of the show, the Buffalo Sabres. So I'm going, yeah, I can get a medicine man. Sure. That'd be great. So we walked away and I called my captain, his name was Pat Fontaine. I called Patty into the office. I said, Patty, Alex asked me to bring a medicine man into do a presentation for you guys. Was he pulling my leg? Could you? And his eyes were like this. So I knew they were all in. So I called up Jake back home and said, hey Jake, what did you ceremony? He said, what was? He pretended he didn't know what I was doing for a living. I said, I'm coaching the NHL. What team's that? So anyway, he came down. We played the Detroit Red Wings that night because that's closest to our community. I got him a hotel room, we came into the arena, and he dressed the part. Boy, he got his brand new leather jacket, the beads across. He had a headband on, he had this big eagle feather going on, he had these mop box. What the high? I didn't even know we had him. His pink gal on. He looked like the biggest store-bought Indian ever seen. He was walking around, and the boys were, is that him? I said, yeah. But no word of a lie. The NHL, and you could ask Jordan later, the NHL, they fly in the best airplanes money can buy. They private airplanes. You got chairs for this big, you got a little kitchen in front. If you want a meal, you go up in front and cook it, whatever you want. You got TVs. We got masseuses, we got therapists, we had psychologists, we have everything money can buy. We stay at the best hotels there is, and private rooms, you got big beds, you got massage therapy, you got everything. And here I am in Detroit, in our locker room in Detroit with medicine. And they're going through it all, and he did ceremony, and he did in our language, which was one of the coolest things ever. He did it in our language, and it was right at the end of the session. One of the players walked up to him and said, "Hey, medicine man, I haven't scored a goal in about a month and a half. Do you have anything in that bag of tricks of yours? you could give me some luck." So Jake pulled out some tobacco, and he sprinkled players' sticks. And lo and behold, we got that night. We lost 2-1, but he scored the one goal. So we go back to Buffalo, and next day, have a practice. Next day, we're playing again. And my coach's door, same player, said, "Hey, coach, you have any of that medicine?" I said, "As a matter of fact, I do, man." And I put some more tobacco. He scored again. So this a couple days off. And we play again. Little Matthew comes again, but he has 4 buddies with him this time. Pat Fontaine, they're making $3-5 million each, and they have their sticks over my locker. Want me to sprinkle their sticks with my tobacco. And as leaders in our community, and as working with youth, that there's opportunities that you get once in a while that you don't know where they came from. They just give it to you. So this is my opportunity to talk to our team about the power of prayer and believe in yourself. So I got all the players in the room, got all the sticks in the room. I don't speak our language fluently, but I know enough to get by. And I want to do a ceremony just like Jake did. So I put all the sticks in the middle of the room, and I walked around, and I remember what Jake was saying, and I just kind of, I was taking a lesson that week, and the lesson plan for my language was, come in, sit down, you want to bring some tea, nice hat, you want to feed the dog. That was my lesson plan. So I go, I know those words. So I put all the sticks in the middle because Jake was doing it in their language. So I want to do it in our language too. And I walked around and said, "Hey, please come in." No, I'm good. I said, "No, maybe shovel it now." I mean, there's big. Week 1, shove them much. And I said it slowly, and I did it more deeply. And I walked around, and I looked at the players, and they looked at me like they were looking at Jake. Their eyeballs were this big, and going, "Oh, my God." So So I said, I gotta keep this going. And I ran out of words. So I said the words all over. I walked around and I grabbed my tobacco pouch and I just threw it all on the sticks. And anyways, they got up, we turned the lights on, we played the Philadelphia Flyers that night with the Legion of Youth, with the airplane draws and the big guys. And we waxed some things. 17. Like, it wasn't even close. But we just waxed them. Then we won 17 of our next 18 games. We won the Northeast Division title. Then everybody said, hey, what's your philosophy? I really don't know. Except if you get people who believe in what you want to instill in, let your kids believe that. I mean, 3 of us are from Fairburn. It's the same kind of community that we got right here. And we have a special gene that says, hey, no, there's no special gene. It's about the power of work. It's about commitment. It's about sticking through. Don't let your kids give up too quickly, too easily, because that's one of the easiest things we can do sometimes. Is just give up way, way too soon. So my biggest thing is kind of support your children as best you can. The proudest thing I've been associated with my whole life is being a dad. That's what I enjoy. Talk to the kids when they're little boys, when you go to bed or get them up, get them to where you have to get to on time, and don't be late. Just one of those things. Just being a good parent. If you're a good parent, your kids are gonna be okay. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for organizing this. Especially, I know we're talking about sports. We do all that sports stuff. But there's a lot of things we learn through sport that continuously learn us in life. It's about working. It's about character. It's about working with one another, and we learn that through the power of sport. So I just really want to thank you guys for asking us to be part of your day. And I know it gets long sitting down listening to people talk all the time, but we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have or don't have, or Brandon's going to do one more of those things. Or
I got a few questions.
all right. Okay. Perfect. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I got a couple set questions here that the room has drafted up, but really quickly, strong people create strong families, which create strong communities. And that's what we see on stage here today. Is you think of what Ted, when he was a little guy, like many of you in the room here, and what he learned from his parents and grandparents, and sometimes you don't want to just sit there and listen so much as little kids, but they're telling you something. And Ted, all those times of those lessons he learned, he handed it off to his boys. And sitting on this stage, a father and 2 sons, we got NHL players, an NHL coach, and it all started with strong people. Create strong families, which create strong communities. And secondly, I just want to say that, the Nolans, they're 3 pillars amongst many that I read and I learn and I get to watch in their journey is you've got to learn to adapt. Sometimes coming from the reserve and going places, you've got to learn to adapt. Just because they do it like this on Kahkewistahaw doesn't mean that's how they do it in Regina, or that's how they do it in Calgary, or wherever you go in your journey. You have to learn to adapt. And perseverance. And then lastly is overcoming challenges. Nobody succeeds without overcoming challenges. And sometimes when a challenge gets presented, we quit, or we give up, or we mit the way. In Korean, we say mit the way, you pout around. The reason that Bridget and the Nolans are here is they had challenges just like you, or probably even worse. But they persevered and they were able to address those. So I just wanted to highlight those. I'm going to do some really quick questions here. I'm not going to ask each of you to answer. I'm just gonna throw the question out and one of you want to answer and then we'll get through them. The room has 8 questions here. And so the first one is the journey. Each of you have taken a different path to the professional level. What was the biggest challenge you faced on your journey and what helped you overcome it? Who would like to address that? I know each of you have the answer, but I don't want to keep us here all afternoon.
Okay, I'll probably answer, because
Okay.
mine was probably the more on the rougher side. When we got married, our boys got raised a little bit differently than the way I got raised. And we went into the city, we weren't welcomed too much. I never, as I mentioned, I never played AAA hockey, not because it wasn't good enough, just the town wanted their own to play on, so there's no room for us. So the biggest thing I just learned is believe in who I was. It doesn't matter if somebody else believes that you're not very good. Believe in yourself. I just continued. I didn't cry because I didn't make the team. I just played the team that I had. So you just gotta, as I mentioned earlier, just work with what you got and be thankful for what you got, and don't be wishing for things you don't. So I just worked, and that's what I try to pass on to my 2 kids.
Nice. Thank you, Ted. Next one, I'm going to actually ask Jordan to answer this one. Being Indigenous in sports, what does being Indigenous athlete mean to you, and how has your Indigenous identity shaped your career? Before you answer, I just want to say, there's a picture they mentioned, and I asked you to look at it if you haven't seen it yet. But there's a bridge in Sault Ste. Marie that says, probably on the reserve, I take it. It's a bridge that a train goes over. And when you learn the history of our country, it was the train across the country that brought Canada to what it is today, which kind of put Indigenous in a place where we didn't always want to be. But on this train bridge, it says, you are on Indian land. And in this picture, Jordan is holding the Stanley Cup. And it is such a powerful picture that I even suggest that you print it off and put it somewhere to remind yourself that this country doesn't always have everything set up for us as First Nations to succeed. But when you learn to just persevere and adapt, these are the kind of moments. So, Jordan, sorry, I just wanted to ask you, being Indigenous in sports, how has that shaped your career?
I think it helped me realize, how important it is to see familiar faces, to see, my family and the impact that can have on a community or some young person. And growing up with my dad, obviously watching the work he did with the Rose Nolan Foundations and our hockey schools. I think as I grew older, playing early pro, I would say specifically coming to play in Winnipeg and Edmonton and Calgary, seeing all the familiar native faces in the crowd, seeing all the young darker faces lined up against the glass and throwing the pucks or signing sticks with them after the games, and how important that was for them. And then I think moving forward as I got older, obviously trying to be positive, a role model and making sure giving back to the youth and sharing my experiences along the way. So I think if I didn't feel like I was a role model or people were looking up to me, I probably would have taken a different path in life. I would want to be where I am right now and probably be a little bit more, a little bit more trouble probably, but it has people looking up to me. But I think it helped keep me in line and helped me live a good life and try to be more of a positive role model. So I want to show up these places and do a good job and show that I'm living the right way that I see fit with the healthy, clean lifestyle. And when I went to these places, I would talk. I was weird to live that life right here. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Jordan. Bridget, I'm going to direct my next question to you, the breaking the barriers. Being a professional athlete or a coach, as in Texas, could be a difficult environment to navigate. Did you ever face a moment where you felt like you had to prove yourself, and how did you respond? And before you, I just want to say, I met Bridget 3 times in our more professional manner. In 2018, we had an NHL game in Regina. The Calgary Flames took on the Winnipeg Jets in the football stadium. And I joined the committee. I was the only First Nations on this committee that's bringing this NHL game. And they were like, what should we do for our theme? Let's do Humboldt Broncos. Let's do. So I put up my hand and I said, well, why don't we address racism in hockey? And being the only Indigenous in the crowd, everybody went quiet and nobody wanted to like say anything. And finally, the Minister of Sports in the province said, Chief, that's a really good idea. And so our whole theme is that hockey was for everyone. And at the puck drop, we had the late Francis Sakamoose, who represented the past. We had Bridget, who represented the present. And then we had Janine Sparby's girl, Janine Sparby's girl and Thomas Benjo's boy, who represented the future. And so, Bridget, I just wanted to go back that, that's the first time we officially met at that time, but breaking barriers, if you just had a comment to the question they had. Yeah, no, I will. I kind of want to understand that. Being a professional athlete or coach in Ted's perspective can be a difficult environment to navigate. Did you ever face a moment where you felt like you had to prove yourself, and how did you respond?
Yeah, I honestly, throughout my playing career, I felt, once I, made the national team and was part of that program, being the only one, it was hard. It was honestly, it was tough coming to the rink, and again, like I said earlier, like I had some teammates that didn't make it that easy, and they would make comments, and this was 10 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago, and at that time it was, you kind of put in an awkward spot, right? So you're kind of like, do I laugh it off? Do I just continue what I'm doing? And once I kind of learned to find my voice, I started to actually speak up to those instances. And it was probably about 4 years ago. When I was scouting, I was in Seattle, and there was a guy that was an older white gentleman that was scouting for the New York Islanders, and he made a comment to me about being like someone that worked at the arena when I was trying to find him the scouts room, and he was asking for the pizza, and I honestly at that point I was kind of shocked, because I was like, what the heck, right? And I kind of, again, like I laughed it off, but I told him, I was like, I don't know, buddy, I don't work here. And then another younger guy, like tapped him after, and the guy came and eventually apologized, and he was kind of digging himself a hole, trying to explain what he thought, and it was just like, he's like, but there's no excuse for that. And I was like, no, there isn't. There really isn't any excuse to make assumptions like that. And I think at the end of the day, he probably felt really bad, right? And at that point, normally I would just kind of, just be like, it's okay, right? I would have done that in the past, but just kind of facing that difficult situation head on, and it's very uncomfortable. And I tend to get, I'm very uncomfortable in those kind of situations, but finally, saying something and speaking up for myself, it was, such it was a relieving feeling to be able to just say it and, correct it, and, hopefully it doesn't make assumptions like that in the future. So, I've had a lot of different instances like that through scouting, just because I've been pretty much the only female in that area, and then first indigenous female scout. So it was, it was difficult, but at the end of the day, like, I'm there to do my job and do it to the best of my ability. So that's pretty much what I focus on.
Thank you, Bridget. Brandon, I'll bring you in here to the conversation. I just wanted to say this one's about lessons beyond sports. So the question is, and then I'll have a little comment and give you time to think about it. What is one lesson sports taught you that has had the biggest impact on your life? And I just wanted to mention, Brandon's story is you can do everything you need to do to become, the best that you can be, but you always have to have plan B. Never just think that you're just going to be one athlete for your entire life. And, in his journey, it became a brain injury, and it just paused him. And, instead of, midwaying, or however we say it, or pouting, and just, trying to, feel sorry for oneself. You realize that you always have to have a plan B. So that's something really important for the athletes in the room to just remember that sports is yes, your priority, but it's the door opener. It's the confidence and the education that it takes and all that. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again. I was going to read the question again. Lessons beyond sports. What is one lesson sports taught you that has had the biggest impact on your life?
One's really hard to choose. Honestly, like sports teaches us so much. I always tell kids, like, play sport. I got 3 kids. My kids will always play sports. They're going to do something, whether it's rep or it's house league or they're going to play a sport. It teaches you so much. Like, I find you can really tell kids who play sports and kids don't. And playing sports is a bit of a privilege. You got to be, lucky enough for your parents to have money to put you in something. The time alone is a lot. But if you can play a sport, like just play a sport, it teaches you teamwork. The mental side of the game that I talked about earlier was so tough. Just persevering, like my father said. I can't pick one thing that sports taught me. It's shaped my whole life. It prepared me for school, it prepared me for work, it prepared me for how to raise a family. So like sports has meant a lot to me. Like I said, it's taught me so much, and I honestly can't pick one thing just because there's so many things that you get out of it. And like I said, just it carries on your everyday life, and I was really happy that I was able to play sport growing up.
For sure. I'm just gonna have one last question, and each of you will just have a comment here, but I'll say some words as you're thinking about it. But advice to the young athletes, just in closing. What is one piece of advice you would give to a young athlete or a coach for them to remember? I just wanted to say, 2 really quick things about my journey. I was a hockey player, but I was a third liner, and I only played when we were winning the game. That's who I was. But I had the best attitude in the dressing room. I was the one that loved the laughs, and I earned a C in Bantam, and I just want to tell you how I did it. I didn't earn a captain because I was the best talented. I realized I was really good at talking. And so I became a ref. And I went to ref training in Pee-wee, and we called it Pee-wee hockey at the time. And so I ref games, I got a couple dollars, but I wanted to debate with refs. And so coach put a C on me in Bantam because he'd always send me out there, Kahkewistahaw, go tell that ref that this is what happened. And he knew I was so good at it. So, I just want to say talent is definitely going to take you a long ways, but your mental game is really important. And my second one is golf. I excelled in golf. I became a provincial champion. I tried the Canadian Tour. And it was Willie and Wally Tapetat in your community that made me love golfing. But I was the only Indian in the golf tournament a lot of times. And I never toned it down on my golf ball. I would color the medicine wheel. I put a horse on there. And I had Indigenous on me. And when I won golf tournaments, I would recognize the treaty territory, and they're all non-Indigenous. They're like, what does Treaty 4 mean? Like, they didn't even know at the time what it meant. But I did it because yes, I was alone in the room, but in that strong belief, I wasn't alone. I felt like I just needed to prove myself. I actually got addicted to proving myself that Indigenous belong in this room, belong in this place. And sometimes, you just gotta learn to just do that, because as First Nations, when you learn your history of us, this system wasn't built for us to always succeed. And I'm not trying to be negative, I'm trying to be real. And so you do have to prove yourself a little bit. But don't ever feel you have to prove yourself just for the person in the room. Do it because your community, Kahkewistahaw, invests so much in you. You are such in a good moment here in this nation, where Kahkewistahaw, with your leadership and your coaches and people in this room, your parents, you get the game because they invest in that gas, they invest in the meals, they bring these speakers in. So just remember that you gotta learn to just carry that with you. And I just want to share that But I'm gonna go, I'll start off with Ken. I'm just gonna go this way, in a clockwise manner. I'm gonna say, just lastly in closing, if you wanted a closing comment, some advice to the young athletes in the room or the parents and coaches, what is one piece of advice you would give for them to remember?
One thing I swear by is work. You gotta work. You gotta work at it. If it's not working, find another way to make it work. You just gotta you gotta persevere and work your way through things. It's not easy. It's very difficult. You're gonna sometimes doubt, but just get up and try it again and continue to work. As I mentioned, I wasn't the most skilled guy in the world, but I swear to God, I worked at it. And our teams were never the best teams, but we worked at it. And eventually, I think the more effort you put into it, the results you're gonna get.
Bridget, again, just one piece of advice and closing comments on what they would remember in the room.
Yeah, I guess don't be afraid to set goals for yourself. Honestly, for myself, like no goal is too high. When I wrote my list of goals when I was younger, it was, it seemed out of reach. I grew up very poor. Grew up in a trailer my grandparents bought for $500, and that's what we had. My dad was a bus driver. My mom was a student for 5 years. So it didn't seem like it was so important for us to set goals for ourselves when we were younger. And it doesn't matter how much time it takes. I'll use my sister as an example. Like she also played hockey. She was a goalie, and she got so many opportunities to play, letters to Division I schools, and she ended up she took a different path than myself, and went to the University of Manitoba. She ended up getting pregnant at 22, and, put her heart and soul into, raising her kids, and then at that time going to school as a nurse, or what is it, an LPN. She did LPN, then she did her RN, and now, last week she applied to med school. So it was, sorry, it chokes me up because I'm just so proud of her. I remember her talking about that when we were about 11, 12 years old, right? That that's what I want to do. And, sometimes it seems like it's out of reach right now, but if you work at it every single day, show up, have that consistency, and the mindset that, believing in yourself that you can do it, anything is possible.
Thank you, Bridget. Just before I go to Brandon, when I talk about the Stanley Cup on the railroad bridge for Jordan, during the Olympics, when Bridget was on the ice, if you watched it, the camera would go to her parents sometimes in the crowd, and the announcers would say, "This is Bridget LeQuest's parents," and you could just see these resilient-looking people just cheering, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's us!" I was so proud sitting on couches watching Bridget play hockey, but I was more impressed every time the camera went to her parents, and they would be cheering or clapping. But anyways, I just wanted to say, Bridget, I just wanted to share that because there's certain images that stick with me, and the many Bridget successes is I got too excited when I see your parents on CBC and cheering you on while in China. Brandon, the question was just final comments, closing comments, but one piece of advice that you would give the athletes or parents, coaches for them to remember.
Coaches, just make the game fun. Youth sports is losing its damn mind right now. It's getting out of control. Money's taking over. The game's getting way too serious. Just make the game fun, make practice fun. All my kids they just play house league hockey because it's getting a little crazy and out of hand. And I coach my one son's team. I'm no Ted Nolan coach, but I do make sure they have fun. So for me, for coaches, just make the game fun. I mean, kids only get to play it might be 5 to 8 years until they go to college, university, or get a job. Make the game fun, make their time being at the rink or the volleyball court or wherever it is. If their time with you is fun, you succeeded as a coach.
In closing, Jordan, I'm going to go to you, and I just want to say quickly, we have a 3-time Stanley Cup champion sitting in your school right here. one of the oldest cups in sports history. And he's here with us today. And, I just want to say it's a huge honor and, so humble about it. And, you could just tell and to have the rings here and Bridget brought her ring. But in closing, what is one piece of advice you would give to the athletes or coaches, parents in the room to remember?
I think just preparation. I think that's how you kind of build confidence. I think if you show up to the rink and you know you did everything you can to be ready for the game or study prepared, and same things goes for schooling, prepare for a test, then show up, become confident. So I think preparation, I think that builds confidence. And I think if you don't prepare and don't take things too seriously, you'll be disappointed in yourself. So I think if you prepare and you work hard, like my dad said, I think that's how you build confidence, and that's how you walk around feeling proud of yourself and where you come from.
Awesome. Let's just this part of the session. Let's give a round of applause for just to sit here. I believe we're going to do some awards. Did you want to do that right now?
Question.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even give a chance for the floor. I apologize. I'm gonna just reset myself here. Sorry for the four of you up here, but I did want to give a chance. Acting like we got a tea time. It's Twilight's here. The floor is open if there's any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, I'll go to you then in the back. Yeah.
So I'm a coach. I raised my sons as hockey players. What is one specific off-ice training that separates elite players from regular players?
I coached some of the best athletes in the world, and the one thing I found about them, almost 99% of the time, their mental capacity was off the charts. They just believed how good they are. And some of them weren't very good, I tell you, but they believed they were. So the power of the mind is, you get a locked mind. You're something. No one's going to tell you otherwise. You're gonna get there somehow. You're going to work your way through it somehow. But the power of the mind is so. What's that word? Where they pumped?
Mid the way.
Mid the way. You want to be mid the way. You want to make sure you have a power of a set mind and work towards whatever goal that you have.
And in addition to that, how do you build that confidence? Say you've been through situations where racism as well, negativity on and off the ice. How do you build back up your confidence? A slump or whatever it may be. How do you build that?
I'm glad you followed that up because when I was growing up, like I said, we didn't have too much. I lost my mom way too early, but the one thing she always told me when I went into the city, because they knew how our kids were treated, they weren't treated very well. And the only thing she said to me was, "Don't let them win. Don't let them win." So by letting them win is outing yourself, not going to it because I don't like it there anymore. No, be proud of who you are and just keep showing them.
Very good question. I'll go to the back. Yeah, go.
Oh yeah. My question's for Jordan. Which Stanley Cup party was the best?
That's probably the 2012 one. I was 22 years old. Just me, myself, and I. Nothing else to worry about. My brother came to that one too. He had a game more fun than I did. We got to go to Vegas for a couple of days. I was 22 years old. Turned 23 that summer. We got to hang out with I think David Beckham came out with us a couple of times. Things like that. Gronkowski was there. We were at Vegas. It was a fun time. Now I'm 37, 2 kids. But they're all different though. I think 2012 I had a good time. 2014 I became sober. 2019 I had my first daughter, and then my brother had kids every single cup year. So every cup year was a different experience. But the 2019 one, St. Louis, I just sit back and enjoy it. I think watch the other guys win it. That was pretty cool. And we won that one on the road in Boston. which was also strange, because in LA we won our two, the music's playing, everything's going on, fans, and then Boston was like, dead silence there.
I love it, great question. Yeah, Nathan?
This is for Ted. How do you, at an NHL level, how do you get, with that many people in the room and they're making so much money, how do you get all those guys to buy into the team and create a team environment, or the best team environment to win and be a good team?
That's another great question, because I coached, somebody asked me a long time ago, what's my coaching philosophy? I really didn't know, except that I coached the way I got raised. And I really believe you can coach the spirit of the individual, not so much talent. Some people can be really good, some are not going to be so good. You just got, I think if you treat them the way a coach or a teacher should, you don't say, I'll get the homework done when you want to. No, you got to get it done now. So, and the same thing as a NHL players. One guy, his name is Rob Ray. Some people would know who he is. And when I benched him one game, when scratched him for a game, he absolutely took a fit. Like it was a spoiled child. Like you can't give your daughter or son an ice cream on the way home to get home mad. So he got mad like crazy. So, and the coaches were even afraid to tell him he wasn't going to play. I had to tell him he wasn't going to play. And the next day, after he did that, I said, you don't have to tell him, I'm going to tell him. So I think being a firm with your athletes and not giving them what they want because they're pouting for it, I think it's the number one thing. So anyways, Rob Ray, I scratched him for 5 straight games because of that one bad attitude game. And from that point on, him and I were like this. And I think if you show authority and you show love and you show compassion to someone, not giving them what they want because they pouted for it, way better off.
Very good. For hands, if there's any comments or questions. Yeah, I'll go to the purple hat and I'll come over here. Yeah, go ahead. How old are you?
I was 67 last year. Now I'm 68.
You know that number? Bridget?
33.
43.
37.
Damn, I thought you were 20.
Must be that Garden River water. Yeah.
Hi. I wanted to say first, thank you for sharing all your stories. Very empowering. Actually, kind of listened to you speak at First Nations University about, I want to say like 10, I don't know, like years ago.
Yes.
And one thing I've always held with that talk was your message to believe in yourself, and that's something that I carry through my journey. So I wanted to say thank you for giving that to these young people, because that's something they'll carry forward. And I know Bridget, we played ball together. Your dad is very scary, very good man, very good coach. Both from Cody. My dad was from Cody. But I wanted to ask, what are kind of the qualities you guys look for in leaders and also in mentors that you find are really what attracts you to them?
What attracted me, and when I became a coach, the one thing that I didn't appreciate when I played in Kenora, Ontario, as a 16-year-old kid, I didn't go to school because of the name calling and bullying and all that stuff was going on. It was just too much. I was fighting at the rink. I was fighting at school. So school had to suffer. So I stopped going to school. And the coach never once ever asked me if I went to school. Not once. And then I'd play a game, and the real good player in the first line, he'd make a turnover. He'd still get to play and say, "Oh, good, too bad, Johnny. You get it next time." And a fourth line guy made a mistake. Geez, he wouldn't see the ice for the rest of the game. And if he made 2 mistakes, he wouldn't even play. So I found they really treated the caliber of the athlete better than the lower end. So I wanted to be completely different. I wanted to coach the way I got raised, because there's 12 of us in our family. And I told everybody one time I thought I was the special one of the group. that I heard my sister tell her friends that she thought she was. I heard my other brother say that he does, and so forth, but we all felt special. So I think that's the power of making every person feel worthy. I'm not talking about skill level, I'm talking about feel. If you make the person feel they're appreciated and looked upon and loved, you get a lot more knowledge of who you were.
Bridget,
Yeah, I just want to speak on what Ted just said. You know, I've had a lot of great coaches and a lot of, pretty bad ones, and that's exactly it. Like, you want to play for the coach that, makes you feel welcome, that makes you, that believes in you, right? And the coach that genuinely cares for your well-being, I think for myself, like, that is exactly when I think of my favorite coaches that I've had. It wasn't about what I could do on the ice. It was, how I was doing, I think, as a person, how I was getting through the next day, the day after that. I had an older guy that was our coach for the national team in 2019, and his name is Barry Kern, and that guy, that was something else. Like, I remember he didn't really gel with me, but like I still showed up. But I had a teammate that was like a first year, and he just ripped her between periods for making a mistake, and it just kind of seemed like uncalled for. You know what I mean? Like, it was like you didn't really have to embarrass each person. You could have pulled them aside and that way. So I've had coaches that would pull you aside and correct that mistake, or what can you do different next time, that actually wanted to help the next shift or the next period or the next game. So yeah, it's just coaches that genuinely care and want you to do well.
Brandon, really quickly. Third question.
Oh, on leaders? Real quick, just for me, I found leaders, like all I kind of know is hockey, so I found the really good leaders. I had shitty captains, good captains. I really found the good ones were high moral, high good, really like good people. Someone that's, they said something, you believed in them, and they kind of like led the right way. So that's just what I experienced.
Me, I think, yeah, it's something you can respect and look up to. They don't make Mr. Popular, you don't have to like it even, but I think if you respect them and know they care what they're talking about, what they're doing, and they're honest with you. The coach, you don't have to like all your coaches, but I think if you respect them as a person, or he's looking out for your best interest and being honest with you, I think that's probably what goes furthest. The same thing for the captain of the team. I mean, someone who can, when they stand up and they're going to do their best and they're a good person, then it's pretty easy to look up to those guys.
Thank you.
Just in reciprocal, I just want to let the four of you know Kiana is Miss Canada.
I was a delegate for Miss Indigenous Canada, and I actually did compete with someone from Garden River, Shay Allison. Yeah, she's half Korean. I don't know if that. I don't know if that helps nail it down.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so then four of you know Canada represented us here. All right, Corey. So then I'll go to the Corey.
One more. Just love your stories. You talk about taking care of oneself, like health-wise, like I feel that's a big thing. Like nowadays with our kids, our young people, like just sugar and all of that stuff, right? Just caring for body. So that was a good one. Attitude. The question for Jordan, I guess, you bought into your role as a player. You're called, you and Dwight, and I never seen you as a dirty player, but you always stepped up for the occasion when you have to protect yourself, your team. Looking at your fight record, you have more wins than losses, but with the losses, who is your toughest opponent you have to go at it in that regard? Like stepping up for your team,
Yeah. Toughest opponent. I wasn't really scared of anyone. There are some guys. I think the scary guys for me were the guys who showed no fear. They were small guys or would just throw, and they didn't care if they got hit. I cared if I got hit, so I was a bit more defensive But I fought Lucic. I broke my finger like right away, so it was kind of just hanging on a little bit. I fought Chris Neal on his 1,000 game. But I think someone was like Matt Kartner. I fought him in the Islanders at the time, and we went toe to toe for like, it felt like 10 seconds, but like when I watched the video, it was probably like 0.2 seconds. So I think he was probably one of the scariest guys that I fought. But in the NHL, I fought Sheldon Surrey. I fought Luke Gazdick in Edmonton. I remember him. I tried to fight Big Bufflin in Winnipeg. He hit me and then tried to fight. But I would say Matt Gardner and probably Surrey was pretty tough too.
You got him though.
I got him.
You got it.
What are the teachers here?
Yeah, quick question for the three Nolans. If you guys are golfing, do you give your dad any extra points? Like, do you give him like +2 boxes?
We're pretty strict. I think my brother's very strict in the course. No, we're not even.
No, we're not even.
No. He shot a 79 there.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Me, I shot out 88. But my dad's pretty good. He doesn't hit very far, but I don't know what he shot that day. Probably, I think at 110, he's pretty good.
I want to admit, if I don't like my shot, I just forget about it, moves. I hit it from where it should have went.
I'm gonna look around one more time. I just want to be respectful of time here and people's patience. Again, let's give them a nice Kahkewistahaw crowd. Did you guys want to do the awards now with us here?
Let's do the one more heads and tails piece for Adam.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
know all the
Yes.
kids probably want to add, yeah, so we'll do that, then we'll do the awards.
Okay.
All right, one more game. Heads and tails. You guys know the rules. Everyone up. You gotta stand up if you want to play. All right, ready? Heads or tails? 3, 2. Moving on is tails. Roll the heads down. All right, heads or tails? Ready? Moving on is heads. What we got left? All right, you want to come to the front? If you're still in the game, come to the front. All right, oh, yeah. What? Yeah, you got 4 height, basically. All right, you got 4 left. Heads or tails? All right, here we go. Oh, sorry, buddy. Oh, moving on is heads. All right, heads or tails? 3 left. You can look around if you want. Here we go. Yeah. We have a winner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We're gonna give away a ring. Yeah. Again, let's do a group picture. We're gonna take a really quick break. There's snacks out in the hallway. Then we're gonna come back in and do some awards. So everybody, come on up. No snacks yet. Just yeah. Let's get a picture here with all the athletes and parents and our 4 guests. Come on. So some of you are gonna sit down on the stairs. Let me get in front here. I'll coordinate this from Some of you can maybe sit on the floor here if you want. We're gonna try and get everybody in here. If you can get as close to the stage as you can, just so the shot isn't so Wide.
Take it from.
There we go. Okay. All right. And our 4 guests have to fit in here too. So we got Bridget here, Jordan, Brandon and Ted. Oh, you're right there, Ted. Brandon, there we go. You're blending right in like Kahkewistahaw around here. Okay, everybody look here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. One more. Here's Jimmy. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, are we missing somebody?
Michelle, get in there. Come on, Michelle. Come on, Michelle. Come on. Oh, yeah, right there. Be the goalie in front.
Awesome. Oh, one more. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, we'll get some now.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have them all pretty soon. Yeah, we'll have them all together. Together with this, our hands
You're still wasting mine. You're all of our.
Start shooting it.
That's anybody.
Wondering if I knew you guys.
Yes.
I knew you
Oh,
guys. I worked with Nate. Yeah, I don't really. I asked him, so. I was like, I feel like I know you guys, and I was looking up three Jims. It's like Jim Ryder. Okay, well, it's you guys.
Go ahead, Josh. Who were at the two of the leaders. Awesome. I'm on the road, but thanks for.
What's the snack?
Are they apple thorns actually?
Oh, nice.
No.
Apple thorn. Somebody touched some of that?
Oh, yeah, they were touched.
Pretty well.
Yeah, they actually touched. I just laugh every time I see my little half-cage apple thorn. Shorty's giving one. The gyms. Send it to I go to gyms.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we know.
Cool.
I like saying that.
Good job. Where do you have the camera? Oh, that's
No, thanks. Really good work. Good seeing you again.
No. You're getting up? Good to see you. Oh my God, good luck, and tell parents to good luck too. How did you guys?
Hard to write. Yeah.
We're just sitting around.
So how do you? Okay, well, I'll get them. Can I get it? Sorry, Daddy.
How you doing?
Good, good. Is the lighting any better?
Where do you want the light? You know?
Probably this way. Yeah. 'Cause the lighting otherwise.
And he said.
There's always a good side to that. Is that a family outing? Allison family?
Allison family?
Where it's a high fever.
What's the last name?
Allison? She's from Garden River. She grew up there. Yeah, South Korea. She's like around 25. Like you guys remember the old man No, but she's definitely from there. And actually, Garden River, so Sault Ste. Marie is where you guys are by. So over here, like where me and Bridget are from, are Cody and we're Soto. So our people actually came from Sault Ste. Marie and they made their way. That's where Soto comes from. And then we came over there with like the trade. And yeah, we have roots over there, that's what I'm trying to say.
You know, Allison,
You want to put some Korean over there? No, I just competed with them. We're really good friends. So from Garden River. But I was just telling him that we're me and Bridget are from Cody, we're Soto, but we're Anishinaabe, right? But it came from Sault Ste. Marie, like so our people came from Sault Ste. Marie and they came down through the third trade. And then they, during treaty they ended up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have roots over there, but like long ago. No connection. Actually, I'll get a photo of all three of them. On your phone, though. My phone sucks. Yeah, I have a photo of us when I was like, I think I was like 13. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming.
No,
that was
thanks for
awesome.
asking us to be part of it.
Of course. You're such a wonderful speaker. I really admire the way you project, but also like your messaging as well. Yeah. Okay, grab food.
Who's the awards going to? Certain athletes and stuff?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, no, yes.
Oh, okay.
Two. This one? Oh, yeah. The whole tooth came out. On the ground like this, and then you picked it up, and then you put it back.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, that's scarred.
Michigan.
You lose anything? You lose anything?
What's this? This is actually our golf team. Golf team fitters, yeah.
Oh, the snacks, good.
In the middle of the back. Yeah, there's Whitewood and there's lots of Picosas. Was it in the valley? Or was it in the town?
I think it was in the town.
Oh, it's probably Whitewood.
Yeah.
Do you guys go golf quite a bit?
10 times a summer, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Not too much.
sounds like we go go around for money.
Actually,
Sounds like a town.
yeah.
Sounds like a town.
Around here, they have a lot of playthrough rest type of tournaments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's lots of rests in Saskatchewan that play golf.
Cheaters.
Lots of cheaters, yeah. Gotta watch those ones, yeah. Especially my cousin.
All my cousins.
Oh my cousins, yeah.
What's that?
What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that ice cream?
I'm gonna, where do you get from?
Oh, so for everyone that's here again, we'll hand out another batch of tickets. Then after the awards, we'll do the draw, so come up if you want another ticket.
Yeah. We go all the way. But they have a good team.
That's already for.
I think we're gonna go on tour again.
Yeah, I think they said April. I was actually thinking Calgary again. You're doing a big ladder camp. Yeah, really good. Oh, the Ram? Right, got the tickets?
Yeah, everyone gets to leave, yeah. They're still here. Oh, yeah, you're here the whole time. I'll give it to you.
February 26th.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Probably. I would live on the water battle.
What's you gonna take to get you to coach around like there? I'm trying to recruit you. I'm the board director. Time of year? It's usually late January up until around mid-March if you go around. And then what do the guys do before that? Like, they tried to get into a bunch of leagues in their area. They actually got into the league. Central. Obviously.
So one guy in our friend league, down to the least, two of the guys, went to school for. He's a good guy. Played hockey too, this guy.
Then they call him the gym is the boss.
Actually, I'm trying to find some way out. Probably find some good leisure. Yeah. Just do things we have fun. Yeah. Somebody actually don't know. Be like, we should do a hockey trip. You go first. Actually, we had Christmas and then I get one back home. My host was the summer one, and always started to start the end of the season. December one, go home.
Where you guys shooting?
Okay. Probably lined up like,
You guys gonna raffle ticket?
That actually a room right there? No.
This one here, she tells me, my sister will go and check on her.
Yeah.
Don't give us a jersey. Give us a Storm hockey jersey. Yeah, we'll do the.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm excited to go back to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Whenever it starts skating.
Yeah, so you might be able to do that.
We gotta pack our bags tomorrow. Go back to the national rodeo. They're gonna go to your kids. They're getting candy and stuff. But they're making candy.
Like 5 more.
Where's your ring?
She's my girlfriend, and she's my fiance. That is for you, that's. Okay.
Do you eat cucumbers? Do you like cucumbers? Did you tell them that hospital sheets? I didn't tell my dad that.
I don't like it. How many times do you have to do that?
I hate the cucumbers.
Oh, you're eating it.
You can see the white. Gee, you like cucumbers? Oh, I play volleyball.
Simulator, 5 times a week. Simulator. Reno, twice. I'm a 6 handicap right now. So I'm getting, I can get their degree. But once up there, I just suck. I just have no feel. I'm gonna work at it. Once I get to it too again. Yeah. Plus 3 at one time. I think that's what he is, yeah. But I rebuilt my swing. And I think I get even better than how I was. I'm just more consistent. I'll never have the distance I used to have, but I want to be steady. Oh, I was so technical. Yeah. I used to hit 17 with a 3 without calluses. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it just feels. playing golf is a muscle memory. And like I step up to the ball and I'm still like, I don't know when to start. Like, you know, I get like this tension. Or the plus three. I already made the shot even before I get it. I would just make it happen. Like it's muscle memory.
Bill. So we'll get going on the awards here. After the awards, we'll do the prizes. Everyone got a couple of tickets for the prizes. First, we'll give out everything except the game-worn jerseys and the Ethan Bear pictures there. Those will be for last. Bill will do the prizes. Another thing, all the athletes and coaches will get a little money incentive after the event is done. Everyone line up, come and do their signature, just like Winter Games and FSIN. And the guys will get some cash for attending and listening and really learning what our speakers had to offer today. Okay, let's get going on the awards here. So the awards, basically, we kind of noticed that we don't really have awards, and we have so many sports teams throughout the year. Our staff and the committee members kind of picked the awards throughout the year. We did a hockey award, a volleyball award, and a softball award. Then a coaches award for some of the coaches that have coached for a very long time. We'll start out with our first award. This award, these boys played FSIN for us and really, I guess you could say, put on a show for the community. The community was really watching all of them and was really invested in these boys, and they really tried their hardest and even, just did overall, even just around the community and around the hotel, acted like leaders, right? But for this award, we're going to give out for the hockey award as the Kahkewistahaw U18 men. I know I see 3 of the players and the coaches in the crowd. I believe the boys finished 4th at FSIN, which is really good. We're really trying to build out our hockey program here in Kahkewistahaw. So yes, congratulations to the boys. Okay, this next award, again, with the volleyball award, wanted to do award just to encourage players and everything. This award is the volleyball award. This team went through a lot of adversity through the year within a team. Within the high school league, then came FSIN, and they did really good at the FSIN tournament and kind of came together as a team. I guess we could put it like this: the team really didn't gel too well during the high school season, but when it came to FSIN, we noticed that they really gelled well, and they got a silver medal at FSIN, and we're our best team at FSIN. So for that, this year's volleyball team of the year award goes to the Kahkewistahaw U17 female. And all the girls are probably working.
Right on, girls!
Okay, we'll move on to the basketball team of the year award. This team we sent. Didn't really have a league to play for the softball team to play this year, but they went through a couple tournaments and did really good at those tournaments. I believe they finished 2nd place at one tournament and then won all their games at the other tournament. For the softball team of the year, it goes to the Kahkewistahaw U13 boys. Yes, that's it. So I guess a lot of our teams, when we're developing programs, they don't always start out really good, right? A lot of times we're taking a lot of losses, but the main thing is we're having fun, like the Nolan said, right? Make sure you're having fun, make sure practice is fun. This was the Hard and Hustle Award, and we noticed that the team got, I guess you could say, beat a lot this year. But no matter what, the kids had fun, and the kids really had a good positive attitude all year, all the time. So the Hard and Hustle Award goes to the U11 Kahkewistahaw hockey team.
Our record was 0-10, but we had a lot of fun and we liked to talk
Oh, these next couple. So I guess when it comes to First Nation sports and stuff, the coaches and the parents are the ones that really keep our programs going, right? We organize behind the scenes, but the coaches and the parents are the ones that are very important to keep our programs running. We decided to do some coaches awards. This one she was here, but she didn't go. So this was a multi-sport coach award. This is one of our coaches everything. Coaches volleyball, softball, hockey, whatever it is. Yeah. But this multi-sport coach award goes to Silver Crow this year. Good job, someone. So the last one we decided to do is a lifetime coach award. This guy probably coached everyone almost in this room. He coached me when I was in high school, even in elementary. Our lifetime coach award goes to, and he's not here to accept it. He's busy right now. It's Mike Bob. Yeah, I'll accept it. Yeah. I'll give it to him at the office. I'm pretty sure he'll be good. That's it for the awards. I'll get Bill to do the draws for the prizes. And yeah, we'll start out with the smaller prizes. So the first one will be, you can pick anything out of the bundle except the hockey jerseys and the Ethan Bear picture.
Yeah, so everything besides the jerseys and the memorabilia, everything else you can pick right off the bat. All the jerseys stuff will be made the last. It'll be kind of like the bigger prizes. Okay? Okay, we'll do the last one. The last green first. Yeah. Okay, we'll do your tickets. All right. All right, sounds good. Here we go. 1, 3, 2.
Oh! Hey! You pick anything except the jerseys and the picture.
Good job, good job. She's wearing an Outcast t-shirt. Does she know who Outcast is? All right, next. Oh, 1, 3, 3. Oh.
One will do. No,
1, 3, 3. All right.
Oh, I can't feel it.
You got the $500
Okay, well, I'll try to mix it up. Okay, you ready? 1, 104.
All right.
Number you got? Go cheap for you? Number yeah. Want to go cheap for you?
I'll go pick one.
All right, you're starting to gut me off back there. I'm gonna try to mix it up a little bit here. Give me that bingo look. 095. Zero, 9, 5. 095.
Draw, I've been on here, yeah.
All right. All right, Brandon. Try for you.
Yeah.
102. Close, I tried. 102. Check it. Don't trust me. He knows. Zero, 8, 3.
I got it.
You get to go like one of the items of one of the hats.
Zero,
Three.
9, 6.
Not here?
Got it?
Oh, what? Oh,
Zero, 9, 8.
Oh, hey, really?
Pick yourself. All right, no more.
No more of that thing.
116. 116.
Yep. Right here.
One, 2, 7. 127. Last one. Last one. A lonely hat. 126.
Oh, right next to it.
126.
Hey,
So the Vancouver Canucks jersey is actually a game worn jersey. So it's, if you win it, it's worth like quite a bit. It's a game worn jersey of Easton Bears. We'll do that one first.
All right. This is one you want. Get ready.
Hold it up. Hold it
has a certificate of authenticity with it too. Okay.
Wait, got the ticket, got the ticket.
So good. Okay. 1, 3, 0.
You can put it back in the box. Keep it fresh and keep it in the box. Oh, you already know this.
You do that when you sell it.
We'll do the LA Kings jersey next.
One, 2, 1.
That one you want to win. There you go. That's your hat.
What's the hat, dude? We'll do the picture next. Oh, there's even another.
You got a receipt in the back.
0, 8, 5.
The last one is a signed Bear jersey, Oiler jersey. Yeah, I signed it this morning.
Big prize.
One, 2, 4.
Not here?
Yes. What am I kidding?
Hold it. That is a Jets fan.
Orland's fan now. Right on. So we're just gonna thank the Nolans for coming out. We really appreciate having them. Some really good knowledge they shared with us. Some good experiences. This is their Stanley Cup, Jordan Stanley Cup experience. Ted Nolans coaching and Brandon's journey going in his hockey journey. We're gonna present them with some sweaters right now, some Kahkewistahaw sweaters, so that they can take them home and keep them with them.
You want large then?
I need a double. There's doubles here.
Hey, keep the game.
Hopefully when we have Thank you.
The J Bob all time play.
We'll hand out all the, okay, just come line up. And line up the day money.
That's a really good day, J Bob. Yeah, for sure.
I'm home for the summer and then.
There's a marker there, you
Thanks for watching.
I look forward to that.